All right. All right. Welcome back to today's session with in production by 2. I'm your trainer, architect, cloud architect Sal Cosentino. Um, Today's April 18th, 2025. And in this session, we'll be talking about getting towards OpenStack, but we're gonna touch base on a product, VMware product, which or VCP products, which is regularly used in large enterprise environments. And we're gonna go ahead and talk about that. I'm not going to talk about myself. Again, I do have, again, I am a professional with 19 years of experience across many fields. I've designed, I've implemented, I've planned, I've instructed and architected systems, servers, and applications in hybrid environments with many different business and startup companies. I've also trained a lot of students. I'm currently a aspiring cloud architect, and I'm a professional. Well, I'm an academic trainer. I teach and record videos on YouTube, and teach students at visiting faculties at different colleges inside the companies and at various private career colleges in on-premise and also obviously online environment. In this session, we work hard, guys. So learn more and do lots of hands-on labs. I know, as architects, well, we don't really do a lot of hands-on, but it's also good as engineers and systems admins and people wanting to learn to do a lot of hands-on labs. And my main strengths again are Microsoft products, like at your admin center, your Exchange, your Intune, MECM, SCCM. I also train VMware products, such as VCP products and ICM, where we install, connect and manage, including your ESXi's, um, your Elastic SkyX integration, your vSphere environments, including different licenses, and your Google products. Um, and also Azure as well too. There are also other cloud courses. Again, I'm adding a lot of courses as we visit, like OpenStack, and which is a product that we're going to be talking about. And again, if there's anything else that I'm I do, I learn and I do, and I'm good at, and I teach. So I guess my question to you, guys online is again, I appreciate, interaction. So don't be afraid to come online, ask questions, get involved. You know, it's the kind of person you are. I tend to see a lot of students in my years who sit down and just wait for the video, you know, to come up. So I do appreciate that this is a hands-on interaction. This is not for marketing purposes or anything. This is more of like an interaction between us. This is a raw live class that I've started for OpenStack and VMware classes. So, being active and hard work is the type of person that I expect. So, I do create um, videos, with labs in it. Um, so again, if you can't follow along or it's too fast, listen, no problem. The videos will be there. You could do it yourself. You could take notes. Taking notes does help. So that'll help you in the long haul. Having the videos, pausing the videos, rewinding back to parts where you want to re-understand it. You can use the captions as an accessible person who's very accessible. Um, will allow you to have that option. We you can use transcripts or captions, guys, when you're watching these videos. Changing the speed playback. I've seen people do that. If I'm talking too fast. So these are some things. I don't expect you to stay home all day watching my videos. Give yourself a couple hours a day, an hour to 2 hours a day. You know, just like when you're going for an exam, don't spend all day, don't overcrowd yourself. Um, in this situation, and try to understand what I'm trying to say. That way, let me know if I'm going too fast. Ask me to repeat. Um, Please don't be shy of asking simple, easy questions. Again, all questions are merited. Any questions online are merited. You can message me online. You can add yourself to my WhatsApp channel and ask me any questions that you want. If you're following along and you have any questions, you want to share your insights, you want to share your achievements, you want to share your lab, please feel free to message me, email me, give me a call, let me know. Um, be descriptive, use sentence structures when you ask questions. You can use paragraphs in the chat. You can work on lab 2 hours a day. Again, if you have more time, please go ahead, right? We already talked about the hardware requirements. Um, so, IT is our field. It's your field. It's everybody's field. As architects, it's part of our field. It's part of an interviewer's process, their day to day. Also for management as well. They should have the hardware requirements. If you're a manager or project manager and you're taking this class or you're learning the software, then it's your field. It's part of what you do. Make sure you have the hardware requirements. Get good hardware first. Make sure you're ready to go. I'll teach you the easy way and I'll teach you the real way, right? If we can't, there's other ways of doing it. But again, it's what we do. It's part of the interview process. Getting your hands dirty, you having that hardware available. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You could search for used ones online, like Amazon, Kijiji. You can go to the Dell website. You can go to the HP website. You can go to Lenovo's vendors. They have different marketplaces you can try for any used computer suppliers in your area, in your surrounding area. Just make sure you have the compatibility for it. Like if you have a laptop, make sure it's an i7 quad core at most, especially when you're running these vSphere environments, VMware. Um, I don't recommend i5, but again, it's not going to have a big problem. I've seen worse. There is a compatibility matrix. For your in production environments. If you're using different servers, right? Like desktop racks or rack mounted, right? There's different matrices, and I'll bring you to that list. Um, and I'll explain this to you. But again, just make sure you have a minimum of 8 or 16, even a 32-bit would help, or up to 128. You don't need that much for your home environment. You're just training, you're learning, you're getting your hands dirty. You need a minimum of 500 GB SSD. I've already talked about NAS drives, right? Network attached storage, where if you have one in your house, a lot of people do have that at home, or you can use a portable external hard drive or USB. And I think one of my students had already purchased one. So those are good to have for this instance, and again, the minimum you need for this course and for other courses that you plan on taking in your home environment, because you can always back it up and delete it, right? Is 500, let's say to about 2 TB, right? Um, you're not going to physically use your 500, and I think I've already explained it in other courses, but I'll show you again, that you don't really need to spend, like if you're building a machine with 500 GB, doesn't mean that you have no space remaining left. We call it thin provisioning. So the good thing about thin provisioning is it doesn't use, and you'll see this later on as we go on, and you'll see that with thin provisioning, it doesn't physically use the whole hard drive. It breaks it into chunks and it breaks it into segments. And I think in my last class I spoke about, uh, I did speak about, see if I can bring that back for you guys. If I'm not mistaken, did I talk about that? I did. Okay. So I did talk about the local files explained, and I did talk about in thin provisioning. What it does is it's not one file, it splits it into multiple files, right? So it'll break the file format is, say, for example, VMware VMware machine dash 00001 dash S001 dot VDMK, and then S002, S003, and so forth, as seen in this picture here. So as you can see, you'll see your name, and then you'll see your dash, your segment. For example, this VMware, right? They refer that to a snapshot delta disk. So that's been split into multiple segments. So this naming format is VMware is the name. The dash 001 is the first snapshot, for example, but in our picture, it's not really a snapshot. It's just a dash S001. So it doesn't have the snapshot of it, but if it did, you would have that snapshot number. So for example, you would have VM name dash S001, VM name dash S002. So the S001 is the first split segment of that snapshot file. So when you see the dash 001, and then dash 005, meaning that the VM name indicates the first snapshot, and it indicates the first split segment of that snapshot. Okay, so you can't really, so you can split these into chunks, which is what I've showed you guys before. So you're gonna see that they're split into chunks. See if I can grab my pen. You'll see that these are chunks of 2 megabyte files, which is approximately 2048 megabytes. So these will split it, and the more information you add and the more changes you make, the more these segments will be filled, right? So even if it starts off with like a meg or 1024 or 1024, 1024, any changes that you make, you might have changes in this segment, where in this segment it made a change and you see this increase, right? To, let's say, 3000, for example, right? So that will happen. But again, it splits it. Remember, it splits it in the truck. And then when we're moving, and another thing is when we are moving these, and I think we've already spoken that, when we split them into 2 GB file, that option, right? It helps for older VMware products, especially when there's a compatibility um, in that. And I'll get to your question. And again, it helps with the storage system so that it doesn't support large files. So this also helps with making copies or moving VM's files across different file systems. So when we're moving, for example, and I think one of our Wayne, when we're moving our files from our C drive, right? When we're moving our files from our C drive, right, to our external drive, uh, having the transfer of that file in chunks, right, makes it a lot more faster than moving a 2 terabyte drive into a USB, where the read and write cache, the read and write speeds are like 1,000. So you'll notice a big difference in both options. So even if you were to test this out in your own environment and you were to grab a 2 terabyte file, right, and move that over to your external drive, one file, for example, or let's say an ISO, that's a 2 terabyte file, right? You'll see that the read and write speeds are a little bit different. Okay. And I think I have a question here. So the question is, what are the advantages of splitting up the files? So like I discussed in other classes, there are its advantages of moving files, but there's also ways, if you don't want to split the file, right? So for example, you can avoid it, right? But again, it makes it easier across different file systems. So if I'm moving chunks of it, it's faster, like its read and write speed is faster. If I'm moving 1 terabyte file, just one file alone, the speed of the read and write is slower. And its memory contents, right? So yeah, you can avoid it. Again, it's easier for storage. It's easier for portability, especially when you split these, like the you split these files into chunks. It's easier. It's even easier just for compatibility with other file systems, right? So it's not just the easier across different file systems, but it's also easier for storage. It's also easier for portability. It's also easier for older file systems like FAT32, right? So, and I think I showed you in one of the pictures, we need to make sure that's you can make sure that split virtual disks into multiple files is unchecked, right? If you don't want to split it. So again, you don't have to do it that way. Um, we used to use single large files to specify monolithic disks, right? So you know not recommended, but again, it's got its advantages. And as architects and as we design this stuff, and as you start designing this stuff, you'll see a difference, right? Um, so the advantages of it is what I've explained that, and you're gonna get that in the video as well too. Um, So yeah, just make sure you have that. You're not really physically using the full 200 when you're creating that one disk, that one VM, right? It's going to be split into multiple. So even if you create a VM with a 500 terabyte disk or two disks with 500, right? And you have a 2 terabyte USB external drive, you're not physically gonna lose that 500 GBs, right? Just remember that. So that's a good uh, something to note because that is important. So again, make sure you have the compatibility for Windows 11 and you're compatible with your ESXi's at least 6.5 up to 8. So I'm going to show you what the compatibility matrix is when you're building and in production, you're building from servers because that'll be something for you to understand and to note on that. Okay. Um, so again, not going to go through that. Again, as an architect, you might want to need access to your VMware ESXi or your vSphere um, software to design, implement, and manage virtualized infrastructures, right? Selling solutions, you know, what can we use for this? Like, what's the solution for, virtualizing storage or data stores, right? So as solution architects, we know that ESXi is part of. Yes, also proof of concept work. Yes, absolutely. That's a great point, Wayne. So it is important for proof of concept for POC. Um, Give me 1 second. Yeah, so especially when sorry about that. So again, yeah, so if you're in a pilot project or an experiment, wing, which demonstrates that type of design, then yeah, this is good to know as architectures, right? So we need to know what vSphere is, right? We need to know the networking side of it, the licensing, subscriptions, because, and I'll show you what this does, and we need to know about what hyperthreading is. We need to know about cores and sockets and all that stuff, speed, megahertz, especially when we're designing it. Um, so our ESXi is the hypervisor again, and this question came up, I think a couple days ago. So you know, and especially when we're demonstrating. So as a proof of concept, like I'm demonstrating this product in ways that we're focusing on determining what the idea can be turned into reality. So if you're going out there, to become a VMware certified professional and going for that exam, um, you know, allows you to learn again the installation, the configuration, the management, the networking. That's all important when it comes to designing it. And while ESXi is our type 1 hypervisor that enables, and I think I said that already. This was type 1, because you're going to hear that there's two different types, and I explained that in other classes. That enables the virtualization, right? While vSphere provides tools and for managing and orchestrating virtual machines. So we're going to also install that for you. Um, but we need to make sure we have our basis for our environment, right? So designing our environment and what our design is going to look like, guys, when you guys are doing this, right? So when we're looking at our design, um, you know, I'm going to bring up. Okay, let me see if I can bring up something here. Okay. Can you guys see the paint, Microsoft Paint? See if you have any issues. Okay, perfect. All right. So again, when we're designing, we're designing. So say for example, we've got our data center, we've got our branch, we've got our local branch, and again, in our data center, we have our specific, VMs, right? Oh, let's say we have these two VMs, say for example, right, and right, right, and we have our three machines, right? Um, so in a real environment, we're gonna have, many disks, right? But in this environment, we're gonna have two disks, and I think I spoke about that as well too. All right. So we talked about this thing's in the way. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. All right. Can you guys see my screen? So we have our two disks. All right, thank you for acknowledging that. Um, and we have our network cards, right, on our physical servers. And again, this is our physical servers, right? And it doesn't matter. We can have three or four, let's say 3 or 4 different network cards that are attached. And then we have our operating system, sorry, not our operating system, but our hypervisor, which is our operating system that's installed, right? And I've already explained the differences between why we should have two different operating systems versus, and different network cards instead of having just one and having everything, especially in our home lab, because we need to ensure that we are um, highly available, right? So in case of disaster recovery, so if we have our second, it's highly available. So in similar aspects, we need at least two minimum disks. We can set up RAID with 3 or 2 or 4 different disks, and we can have our different network cards doing different things, right? And different features within our vSphere environment. And I'll explain what features why we should have 4 network cards um, in our ESXi machine, right? So this is our ESXi, for example, right? And then our ESXi is where we have our machines, and this is where our storage is going to be, right? Um, and then we'll also, like I said, I also got you to design. We're also going to design a domain controller, and I think I explained why. So we're going to explain another. We're going to create another machine, right? And this machine is also a duplicate. It's going to have 2 disks, right? And it's going to have 2 network cards, right? And then this is going to have our operating system, right? And our OS is equal to Windows Server 2019 or 22, right? And I think we did you install it? Did you install this already? If not, we can do this together. I think so. Okay, perfect. All right, so and this is going to be our global catalog. All right, so our Windows server, and this is going to be our domain controller machine, domain controller, right? Where our users and groups are NTP, right? We're gonna, we're gonna also do NTP. This is gonna be our NTP server, right? It can also be our NTP. It doesn't. Again, this is optional. Yes, all triangles are noted as NIC cards, just to differentiate the this right angle 90-degree triangle is noted as a NIC cards, and these are physical NIC cards, right? Right. So Ethernet 0, right? And then this one here is, let's say, a physical NIC card, and this is 1, 2, and 3, right? So you're gonna have 4 different NIC cards. Does that make sense? And these are gonna be, and again, these can be NAT, or they can be 1 gigabit per second NIC cards, right? Which is host only, right? So when you're connecting to the WAN, which is your own network. Let me denote this in a different color here. So again, remember, it's right, this is Ethernet 2, and then this is Ethernet 3, right? So all right. Any questions? And this is this right here, and I'm gonna make this a different color for you. So this right here, Wayne, this is your hard drives. These are your hard drives, your physical hard drives. And I think I mentioned that already in a video. These are both physical hard drives, right? So one is your sort of acts like your C drive or your OS, right? And then you'll have like a secondary like E, which can be denoted as, so that's going to be your operating system, OS, right? And then this could be for logs, files, data files, logs, transaction logs, database logs, whatever you want, whatever you want. But in this instance, it's going to be for storage, right? So that's what the E drive is. Okay. Any questions on that? Yeah, these are both physical drives. So this is a physical drive, and this is a physical drive. This is your ESXi machine, and this is your domain controller. And then in your ESXi, we're going to have our virtual machines and our storage, right? And again, our ESXi storage is accessed through our software SAN. So we can build our software SAN, right? We can build 2 or 3 machines in this instance, 3 different machines, right? So you'll have uh is the E drive. I have a question here. So is the E drive like my USB? No. So remember what we spoke about. It's a physical device. This is our virtual environment, right? So let's say these are physical in a production environment. This is a bare metal machine. This is a bare metal machine. remember what we talked about. Um, see if I can get a picture for you here that I think I drew already. All right. So your laptop, see if I can cut that, paste that right here, paste that in our new. Anyway, so didn't copy it. I guess I didn't copy it. Give me 1 second. Just a little bit bigger here. Okay. You guys, do you see this picture, Wayne? You see this picture? Okay, so to answer your question, um, pen. All right, so to answer your question, this is you, Wayne, right? We'll denote you as Wayne. Okay, this is you, user, right? Right. You are on the laptop watching a video, watching me. Now you have Workstation Pro installed on here. So that's your hypervisor type 2. And your operating system is Windows 10. So your OS, this background here, that desktop background, is operating system 10. Your USB is connected to your laptop. So your physical USB holds the storage. You're using an application called VMware Workstation Pro, which is also a hypervisor, which is installed on top of the operating system, your Windows 10 operating system or your Windows 11 operating system. When you're building machines, virtual machines, those are different than your laptop machines. This is stored in your device. That's it. It's just stored and read on your laptop or viewed on your laptop. Any configuration, any management, any installation is done on your laptop through our VMware Workstation Pro. These machines are basically discussed or are basically being designed in this environment. So you'll have your domain controller built on inside Workstation Pro, and you'll have your ESXi's, as many as you want, built in your hypervisor to software VMware. Now, if this is your environment, this is your environment. So if this was an in production environment, right, which is different, or data center, right? Um, you're purchasing a bare metal machine, which is a physical machine. Let me see if I can grab a picture. And I think I explained this last time. So this is your physical machine. That's your physical machine. So this machine here, it's going to have a C drive and an E drive. It's going to have a C drive. You see all these disks here? It's going to have a C drive. It's going to have an E drive. It's going to have an F drive. It's going to have an H drive. It's going to have a G drive. It's going to have different network cards behind it. It's going to have different network cards behind it. You're going to install the software. You're going to pop in. Yeah, I'm with you. So you're going to build a USB. You're going to plug the USB. You're going to plug. Oh, let me see if I can grab that. So you're going to grab this USB, for example, that's got the ESXi preloaded. So you're going to use an application called Rufus, right, to build a bootable USB, right? And you're going to take this bootable USB and you're going to walk over to the data center and you're going to plug it in, or DVD, whatever it is, and you're going to plug it into the USB ports, or you're going to pop in the CD, DVD, and that's going to load our ESXi hypervisor. But we're not doing it that way. This is physical. We're not doing it that way. We're going to be installing everything on our Workstation Pro Hypervisor 2 software. Remember what we talked about, the differences, right? So, um, yeah. You have any questions on that? Right? Okay, so if we were to design this and we were to architect this, Wade, right? As I was saying, you're gonna have your ESXi, right? And the more ESXi's, the more storage you can add, the more you can cluster together, right? So you're gonna have hundreds of machines. You're gonna have thousands of machines, right? You're not gonna fit 100 machines on the CSXi, right? When you're building this bare metal machine, you're adding resources. You're adding, CPU. You're adding RAM. You're adding SSD. You're adding whatever. SCSI SCSI hard drives, right? You're adding magnetic hard drives, right? You're adding in RAM. We're talking about so this is called virtual RAM, right? Because we're using our hypervisor 2 virtually. We're not physically putting it, or DRAM, right? Which is a term you're going to see a lot in AWS and in the cloud and whatnot. So these are your different resources, hardware resources. Okay. Give me 1 second. So any questions um, regarding this drawing here? So yes, so in this instance, to answer that question, E drive, yeah, E drive is your external drive, and D is your DVD drive or your ISO drive or on your laptop, physical laptop. So this is your physical laptop, right? So this is sort of like acting as your server, right? You can open your servers, right? And then you're going to build your machines, your two machines um, inside this environment or inside your OpenStack or inside even if this operating system was Ubuntu, right? This operating system can even be Ubuntu, right? Doesn't have to be Windows, right? And you can install your hypervisor ESXi's, your hypervisor, and create um, this application, and you can create your VMs inside this application. Just remember when you're talking about a hypervisor one, these blue, they're logical disks, right? These are your logical disks that are attached. And let me denote this blue color here as a logical disk. So these are logical disks, right? That are created, right, in your virtual machines, right? So remember, virtual machines are stored inside your ESXi. And when we install it, I'll show you how to do that. And you also have virtual NIC cards, right? You have virtual NIC cards. You have virtual NIC cards, right? So your VMs, these are your VMs, your virtual machines. Remember, everything here is virtualized, right? So this is a virtual, we call this virtualization, right? Because that's important to remember, right? So just remember that in a production environment, a data center or a branch, also a branch, right? You'll hear these terms often. Um, have you guys, I guess the question is for you. Have you done your MCSC or your MCSA or your um, Windows Server course? Have you taken that course before? No. Okay. Well, I can also explain, like you're going to hear the term branch a lot uh, in the server environment, and you're going to hear branch like you have a branch, right? Um, you have a domain controller. Um, you have a root domain controller, right? So, for example, um, have you ever heard of the term root and child being used in Active Directory? Yes. Okay. So when you build, when you have, so for example, if you have two locations, Wayne, right? So for example, you have two locations, right, across a WAN environment, and you have one location in New York, right? And then you have another location, let's say, for example, in Boston, right? So these are your two locations, right? So in your two locations, right? In your two locations, you have branches. You have a branch, you have a New York branch, and you have a Boston branch, right? So this is your New York branch. And within your New York branch, you have a domain controller, right? Right? You have two domain controllers, right? Let's say, for example, for high availability. And in this instance, in Active Directory, we call these root domain controllers and child domain controllers. So you have your root, which is your main, and then you have your child, which is it replicates. It's your replication between your active and your passive. So when we hear the word root, right? So your first server would act as your root domain controller, right? And then your second would be your child domain controller, right? So each branch would have its own, and this is across a WAN, and this is for replication and synchronization. Okay, especially when we're designing across different branches within an environment, right? So, for example, in the USA, you got your New York branch and you got your Boston branch, right? Or, for example, within New York, you have New York and then you have Brooklyn, right? So those are two different branches within New York. So you have New York City and then you have um, I don't know what's a country, what's a state in US, um, where it has different cities in that one state. Can you help you out? I'm not really good at the states, but okay. So yeah, let's say Virginia. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we could say Virginia and Kansas City. So Virginia, and we could say Kansas City, Virginia and KC, Kansas City, right? So these are two different replications. And again, your root DC is Virginia .company.com or company.local. So Virginia .company.local, right? So that's our primary DC domain controller, right? And then we have our child, which is Virginia 2, right? .company.local, right? So, and then within Virginia, you can have Kansas City, which is about, let's say, 50 kilometers away. So you can have Kansas City dot Virginia dot company dot local, right? And then with it, yeah, well, yeah, we can use, yeah, for example, yeah, we can use Richmond, right? So we can use Richmond as another location within Virginia. So you kind of understand the availability, the zones, the availability, the region within those regions. And then Microsoft, we use root domain controllers and child domain controllers. Just remember that there's a big difference. In AWS, and in Azure, we use availability zones and regions within our data centers. But when you're looking at branches, let's say there's a company that has a branch in Virginia and one company has a branch in, like you said, in Richmond, right? So, for example, in Richmond, you have richmond.company.local, and in Virginia, sorry, you have richmond.virginia.company, and that's your child uh, domain, right? And then that's run and replicated and synchronized between a WAN connection. A little slower when you're building a WAN connection, but again, It's not local to the environment. Obviously, you've got your LAN inside your branch, right? So you've got your private environments. So you're using your LANs within your branches, right? And you're using your WAN to replicate between the data between to have access to different our root domains and our child domains in like you said in Richmond or in Kansas City. Do you have any questions? You understand where I'm going with this? So root and domain, it's more for high availability. So you're replicating between the two, and you're getting the same data. Questions so far? Okay. So when we're architect, perfect. So you understand? Perfect. Thank you. Um, Thank you. Again, if it's confusing or if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I'll actually give this, I'll send this over to you so you have a picture of it. You can, when you're watching the video, you can use this and make note of it in case it's too small or, you'll have this and you can take a look at it. So I'll put that in the notes and I'll put that in our channel. Yeah, we're gonna build this out. Yeah, absolutely. This is what we're gonna build together, and we started in our last two classes, um, and we're gonna get there. And it's remember, it's not only lecture, because as architects, yeah, we'll have people designing this, but we are gonna design this, and we are gonna have these two machines. You know, in your own, if you have the storage and you have the capacity, build two domain controllers, build two ESXi machines. Because when we have our vSphere client or vCenter server appliance or VCSA, all right, because we're going to build our VCSA within our ESXi. So uh, our VCSA is our VIP, right? That's our vCenter server appliance. And that's going to have, and we're going to access our client, our VCSA client here, client, and our ESXi client. We can access our GUI, and this is all done, through the internet, right? Um, so I'm going to draw an arrow. So this right here on our domain controller, you're right, you're going to access this machine using the internet. Sorry, let's see, that's the cloud. This is the internet. Okay, so this is our internet. So through the internet, so see if I can explain this a little bit better. All right, so you have your internet. So you're going to browse. Let's say this is your internet, right? So you're going to have internet on this machine, right? So through the network, right? So through the network, right? So through the network, right? You're going to access the internet, and within the internet, you're able to now grab a red pen. So you're able to actually access these two machines. So the ESXi, right? So this is also going to be an ESXi, right? Let's say, for example, this is a virtual machine, right? So your ESXi and your VCSA client, you're now able to access it through the internet over the network. Okay. So all you need to do is type in your within our LAN environment. Obviously, this is within our LAN environment, right? So in our LAN, we're able to capture these two machines, right? And view our client GUI and view our ESXi clients. And then this is going to be cool because once you have that, you can build and do whatever you want with it. You can install, you can configure, and you can manage. And that's our goal here today. And then later on, again, the more ESXi's you add, I can also teach you how to use software LAN, right? So this is going to be our software. This is going to be our software SAN, right? which is kind of our SAN environment, right? And then we can access, say for example, we have another machine. We can access our LUNs, right, across these two ESXi machines, right? So we can access these machines. So this will have software, this will have software, and this will have software, and we can actually manage our software within our LUNs or our data stores, right? I'll talk about LUNs and I'll talk about data stores later on. And I'll talk about NTFS and VMFS a little bit later on because there are differences between the two. And having these three machines, for example, Wayne, right? You'll have access to those specific features, right? And as architects, when we're building this, we're our users are accessing this constantly. So our users are accessing the data. Our users are accessing this. Our administrators are accessing this, right? Our developers are accessing their machines for applications, our web servers, our web application proxies, stuff like that. So remember, it's important to note that our machines are being designed on our Workstation Pro. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop talking for now. I didn't want to spend too much time, but for the newcomers that are coming, this would have been a good time to, um, ask questions and get the understand it first before we went on. But I guess we'll go ahead without them, and we'll um, people that are watching us on YouTube, our one-to-one viewers, our fans here, please go ahead and follow along and build your environment as we discuss, right? So you know these videos, again, they're all recorded for educational purposes, so you can repeat the same thing at home during the week. I spend 1 to 2 hours. Again, I'll upload these to my YouTube private channel. I need your Gmails. If you want to send me your Gmails for the videos, I can add you to these private links. So as we talk about the design, um, we're building these two machines inside our laptop, using our hypervisor type 2 software. Do you have any questions regarding the two machines that you built last week? Because I also want to talk about, again, a vSphere client, right? And what that does, and how it uses Photon, right? It uses Photon. Photon, it's called, code, and half VMware code. That's what it uses. So Photon. Sorry about that. Right. So, we're gonna learn this, okay? And again, ICM, you're gonna see this term ICM, install, configure, and manage. You're gonna see this virtualization, the different types. I've already talked about that. Again, the different routers. Some people have wireless routers. You can use both, right? Um, so it doesn't matter what router you have. If you have a DSL router, you have a home router, a wired router, a core router, an edge router, whatever router you want to use, uh, you know, you can use. Did you download VMware ESXi? No. Okay, so let's go ahead and download that. Can you share your screen? Can you share your screen? So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to get you to share your screen and come online. I'm going to unmute you and need you to come online for me. So we're going to download the evaluation version. And then we're also going to talk about system storage, NTP, We can set up our own NTP server. I'll show you how to do that, where we're going to enable our NTP service. Or we can also use our domain controller if you have one and connect it. And this is what we're going to do today. We're going to create an ESXi machine. We've already created our Ubuntu machine, which is perfect. But our next step is to create an ESXi machine and to get you on a vSphere client. And we're also going to show you how to set up security and users, where your engineers will be able to enable specific groups and access lists for this. Can you share your screen? All right, fantastic. All right, let me move this here. All right, so yeah, so the software that you installed is the vCenter server application that you're going to install. Right, so you're gonna create a folder in the software folder. Yeah, there we go. And you're gonna call that vSphere 04. You're gonna create a new folder in software. And we're going to call it 04. We're going to call that VCSA. The vCenter server appliance. Enter. And then you're going to paste the VMware ISO that I got you to download earlier, because it's a big piece of software, right? Just in case we got to that point. If you can paste that into that folder there. Yeah. So the ISO that I got you to download in the downloads folder. Yeah. So right click, cut. Right click and cut. And then paste it in there. VCSA. Perfect. Did I go through? All right. I think you stopped sharing your screen. Can you hear me? Oh, still sharing? I don't see. Okay, there we go. All right, so there we go. So a copy, perfect. Okay, so we have a VCSA client. What I want you to do is download your ESXi. So what I want you to do is open a web browser, and I want you to log into your Broadcom account. I want you to open up a web browser on your laptop. Chrome, Google Chrome, Edge. I don't see your full screen. See. I'm not seeing your full screen.
So what are you seeing? You're seeing.
I'm seeing half of a screen. I'm seeing the top tab up until Wayne's virtual machine. That's
Okay,
it, and
let me
then it's
find that
cut
right.
off. The rest is cut off. So I don't see your full screen, which is your and I'm not able to take control.
Okay, I'm in the browser.
Okay. Are you able to share your screen again for me and share your full screen? I'm not
Yes, I'm
instead
on
of
that.
sharing the window. I think that was the issue. And then move everything over to the other screen that you need, and
Okay.
share the full screen.
Okay. Oh yeah, entire
Uh,
screen.
the
That's fine.
entire, yeah. So when it click on screen, it shows you windows and screen, right? So you can share the full right screen, left screen, third screen, or just the window itself. But typically, I would need the whole screen, and
Okay, hold
I
on.
would need to If you can give me control, then we can do this together. And minimize whatever you don't have. Minimize that.
I will
Minimize that. Minimize that.
all right. Do you have control now?
I don't have control. Interesting. I don't have control. Give me 1 second. So you're sharing, you stop sharing.
And I'm going to give you control of boom.
Yeah. I don't see the control. I see pop out.
I'm sharing. I don't know if you have control though.
No, that's okay. So I'm gonna get you to open. I'll just explain it to you.
I think I know what it might be. I think I'm gonna try it one more time. I think I know what it might be. Try this one time.
I'm not able to take control.
I'm trying one more time.
Yeah. That might cause a little bit of a delay, but it's okay, Wayne. I would have preferred to do that, to do it for you, but a little faster. But you're gonna have to bear with me, and you're just gonna have to follow my instructions, right?
All right, I shared my screen again.
Okay, so perfect. So what I want you to do is hide where it says hide there at the bottom. Just click hide. Okay, I want you to open up Microsoft Edge. Open up a new page.
All right, I'll put it on the page so you can see it.
That was the ISO that I shared with you. That we don't need that right now, but that's for another class. If we can get that far. What I want you to type in is Broadcom. Yeah, your Broadcom sign in. Broadcom.com. Enter. And I want you to sign in. We created an account together.
Yes, we did. Did we not?
So I want you to sign in. Support portal. Yeah. I was thinking about signing in. I want to show you what it looks like because I have it already installed. See if I can show you. I have mine installed already, but it's okay. Just show you guys what it's going to look like in terms of view.
I'm going to have to I'm going to work on recovering my passcode if you don't mind.
No problem. No problem. Take your time. I'm going to go ahead and show you my screen for a second and show you mine while you do that.
Okay, I am doing that now.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so all right. So I'm going to share my screen quickly. You see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What happened? So just setting up here. All right, do you see my screen? Okay, so this is my server. This is what an ESXi client looks like, right? So basically I've installed my VCSA My VCSA is my appliance, and this is my management server, and this is my vSphere. This is my vSphere client. I'll show you um, what that looks like quickly, just for visual concept. And this is what we're going to be designing together. So typically, we would have access to this, right? And then we would have our machines here. We would have whatever machines that we want. This is just a temporary one. I had hundreds of machines. Again, not on this server, but on other servers. But there's thousands of machines here. There's clusters and whatnot. Then you have a data store. Then you have your networking. Okay. So this is where we manage. This is where we're going to be managing our system, right? This is where we're going to be managing our NTP. And we'll get to that part after. This is where we're going to be managing our services, right? So if there are services that we need. So this is where all our services is, right? Our NTP daemon, right? This is where we're going to manage our users, our authentication. We're going to enable Active Directory together. And this is married within my my domain controller machine, right? So so this is married within, and this is just putty. I'm able to actually do a little bit of configuration, like adding more storage, to adding more disk space. I'm not going to show you how to do this, but this is something that your engineers or your sysadmins would have to do, right? But if we needed to add more space, this is what we can do. But yeah, this is my Active Directory controller. So in here, I have an Active Directory, right? Right. So this is my active. I'm sure you know what this is, right? In my data center, right? I have my data centers and I have my US data centers, right? My two different data centers within there. And then I have my different domain controllers, right? I have my two domain controllers, right? So that's as I was talking about, child and domain. And again, this is what I want you to kind of build to and get ready, because this is going to be important for your environment, right? Okay. So any questions so far? And this is where we're accessing. So remember when we talked about our do you see the picture here? Remember when we talked about, you see this picture?
I do.
Okay. So do you remember when we talked about our ESXi and our software SAN and our ESXi? So I have my ESXi machine and I'm accessing my VSXi client. Let me get this a little bit bigger. Okay. So I'm accessing my VSXi client.
I've reset my password, by the way.
Perfect. So you see this VSXi client and your ESXi client GUI. So these two here, we're accessing through the internet on my domain controller. You understand? So in the internet, remember we talked about in the internet
Okay.
on my domain controller. Doesn't matter what internet, but doesn't matter what machine you're accessing, as long as they're member servers or they're standalone servers that are on the same domain, right? So with the internet, in the internet, we're accessing our in the internet, we're accessing our VCSA client and our ESXi client. Okay. So if I were to go back to my machine on the internet, I'm accessing my vSphere environment and my ESXi environment. And let me log in here.
So what you're logging into does not exist in your computer or your WAN.
And it exists. It exists on our hypervisor too.
Okay.
On my laptop. So this is my physical drive.
Okay.
Right. So I've now logged into my hypervisor, right? This is very straightforward. And this is how a home lab works, right? Like even for training for
Mhm.
students, we'll have to do this as well too. We're now moved over to our vCloud director environment, and that's totally different. Right. So every all my students will log into my will log in, we'll have a login for them, and I'm able to now monitor what they do, right? So similar to this, but you need to learn how to create your own environment from your home. That way you have the knowledge to explain things and build things if you need to. So if you need to build a Kubernetes cluster or or a microservice, you know, you can build a machine. You know how to do that, right? You can build an Ubuntu machine and say, here's my Ubuntu machine. Okay, guys, I need my sysadmins with Ubuntu knowledge or Linux scripting knowledge to go in and install my Red Hat OpenShift, for example, or to install my OpenStack, right? Control plane. So, did I spell it wrong? Hold on a second. There we go. What happened? Oh, I spelled it wrong. Let's try again. There you go. So this is what a vSphere environment looks like. That's part of my domain. You get it? And then within here, I have my I could build the data center and I could call this US data center, right? Let's see. And then I'll have my two data centers, right? And my nodes, my different nodes. So I can have a ESXi1 and ESXi2. I can have my one as part of Canada and my two as part of US, right? And then I can actually degregate that, right? So for example, here's my VCSA client that's running Photon. Remember we talked about Photon? So that's the guest operating system, right? And I'm now able to launch these machines, right? You understand where I'm going with this? And then this is our vCenter server management tool. So when we log in, we log into our vCenter, and you got to set, and we'll do this together to set this up because I want you to know what this is. Um, when you're on when you're in an in production environment, and I'm sure you have this as well. What does the Photon do again? It's just operating system. It's an OS. So I'm just grabbing the password. Give me a sec. All right. All right. So here we go. So this is my server management, right? So this is where I can access, charts, and I could see percentages of CPU memory, my disks, my IOPS. For example, I have 28% utilization, so my throughput is high. I now need to add more. I can actually add more, and this is where I use Putty to add more. So it was supposed to about 20 GB, so I gave it another 26 GB and I added more to the utilization. This utilization was at like 45, 60%. So for me to, add more, I brought down the utilization. So these are certain things that you can do within your vCenter Server Manager. You can take a look at your proxy settings. It's all here for you to view and update, right? And do changes, and you can change your passwords, and you can have your summary health here, your health checks. It's got different, you can switch your themes, right? You can log out, etc. Change your help. All right, this will give you everything you need. Okay. Um. So yeah, that's what that looks like. And again, the OS, the Photon OS, like you said, it's a Linux based. Um. Well, let me write this down. VCSA. So it's Photon OS that is Linux based. And again, your VCSA is half Photon, half VMware code. It was developed by VMware. Okay. All right. Right. So that's what Photon OS is. It's a Linux based machine, open source operating system that was designed by VMware. It uses half Photon or VCSA and half VMware code. Um, we can secure container hosts. Okay. Uh, so so again, VCSA, half Photon OS, half VMware code. Developed by VMware. It's Linux based. So you're going to see that penguin picture. It's used to secure container hosts for cloud environments. We can use it with VMware products and cloud platforms like vSphere, right? Which is proprietary, right? And then and apps that run in containers, right? So that's what Photon is. It's the OS, it's the code. And I think you'll see this is the code. This is the code that it uses, right? You understand? So I can actually customize this. I can actually, send the control alt delete if it allows me to close. Let's double click inside F2. And this is where you can actually log in, all right, to our VCSA appliance, right? We can actually log in, right, with the password that we set up. And we're going to do this. We're going to create this. We're going to get there. I promise. I just want you to understand what this is, right? We can configure the root password here, make the changes to here. We can configure the management network. We can set the management network, right? We could set the IP addresses. We can set up the DNS configurations. We could set up the DNS suffix. We can change the DNS suffix, right? We can do whatever we want. So I'm going to escape out of there. We can give it the DNS configurations and give it also the servers and whatnot. And again, this will change. This can change at any time. And again, um, depending on your virtual environment or how you want to set up your private classes. So you can set this up at any class you want privately within your LAN environment. So within your LAN environment, again, you created your for example, this is two CPUs, right? It's using 1.2 gigahertz, right? Out of the two CPUs, right? So I've given it 250 GB. I've thin provisioned it. So as you can see all the disks in here. You can see the different disk size, the 12 disks, right? That have the different sectors, as we talked about. And you see the compatibility, right? So this is where your compatibility is, right? And your different storage capacity. And again, you can build your machines. So this is where we can actually build our machines, right? So now instead of using this is within our type 1 hypervisor, right? So we can actually build our machines here as well too. I don't recommend it, but again, yeah, you can actually build your machines. So even if I want to build a machine, I can deploy a new virtual machine very easily uh, and create an Ubuntu. And I want to put it in the, say, the US data center, right? Let's just call it US. Oh, so it's saying compatibility, select a cluster. So I need a cluster. So if I had a cluster in here, right? Right, so let's see right here, and then I'm going to click next. Virtual machine. This is going to be Ubuntu or OpenStack Ubuntu. Just to give you an example for US, and then click next, right? And then select the, right, select next, select. But as you can see, that's what it is. I think it's because of the storage. This is because of the storage. I have to add more storage. But anyway, this is something small. I just gave it it's just a machine that I created. I've created 2 machines here. So as you can see, this machine has no operating system. It's just a bare metal machine. So this is a bare metal machine, right? And it has, we can configure the different policies, right? Based on we can configure the data stores, right? We can create new data stores here, right? We can create snapshots. We can, you know, shut the machine off, migrate the machine. We can turn off fault tolerance, resume fault tolerance, add fault tolerance, create policies for them, create templates, convert them to templates, right? So if I want to use this as my base machine for 100 machines, I can create a template and then clone those templates, or clone this machine and then use this as a template. For example, I can clone this, right? Right? I can clone to a virtual machine or clone to a template, right? So I'm cloning it. And then I can actually, um, you know, like I said, I can actually build these machines. So if I'm building a new machine, I can build, say for example here, if I'm building a new machine from a template, so I can build it from a template. I can clone it from a virtual machine to a template. So these are the specific things that you're able to do when you're designing your infrastructure and you're virtualizing your machines. Because virtualization, yeah, should be important, right, in your environments, because it holds a lot of those mission critical machines, right? Those applications, those web servers, those OS, those you know, let's say banking information, debit and credit card, stuff like that. Your email exchange servers, your virtual machines that you use to log in every day as an employee, right? That works in the IT department. Your sales managers, your directors, they would all have machines here, right? So this is just a quick insight, right? Just to kind of show you what it looks like. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. Great stuff. Yeah, we're gonna build these. Yeah, we're gonna build these. Um, we're gonna build these for sure. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Uh, Stop sharing. All right. And I see a question here. The question is, will and can these machines and overlay with will or can these machines? Yes, you join them. Yes, you can join them to the domain. So if I'm going back to the drawing, we can join these to the domain. All right, so I'm going to get you to share your screen. Can you share your screen? Right. And remember the software, the ISO. There's two different ISOs. When we're talking about this, Wayne. Um, yes, I see. Yes, I do see I do see it now. Now, what I want you to do is, you have your Ubuntu server, perfect. We're gonna get to that point, uh, our bread and butter there. But I want you to build two more machines. I want you to build an ESXi, and I want you to build a domain controller. That way, you have it. Can you open up your? Okay, you say so. What I want you to do is go back to the sign in page. Right? You said you changed your. Hey, I want you to minimize that for now. I want you to put in the new password that you put in. You change your password. Okay.
I'm
I
already
want you.
looking.
Perfect. And you see at the top there, you see the white box with the clouds and the arrow pointing down. I want you to click on that. Yep. So at the top where your name is, where you're signing, yeah, there's a white box. Yeah, right there. I want you to go to VMware Cloud Foundation, right? And Cloud Foundation.
Yeah, but let's see. I thought I
Nothing
put that
happened.
VMware Cloud. Okay, I'm here.
Double click.
Yeah, it put me here.
What happened? Go to software. I'm not. I'm looking at I'm looking at something else here. I'm looking at the. What happened? Okay, can you go to software in the left corner there underneath Brock? I'm looking at something totally different. Can you sign out and sign back in again? Yeah. Okay, go to
So
enterprise. No, so perfect. Go to enterprise software. Yeah. Go to my dashboard. My dashboard. I can't share my screen. Can you share? Are you able to give me control? I'm not sure what's going on here.
try it one more time.
Okay, so go to my entitlements. My entitlements. Okay, you don't have any entitlements. So go to my downloads. Okay. You see where it says free software downloads available? Remember we did this before?
I
We
think so.
downloaded Workstation Pro, right? So click here. That same concept in our first video. And I want you to scroll down or type in ESXi. Search product. ESXi. ESXi. Elastic Sky should be there.
They said no data found for that search. Try that.
Scroll down.
Certainly.
Is there anything that says hypervisor? Hold on. VSphere drivers, ESX drivers, VMware Center,
It's ESX.
hypervisor.
It's
Yeah, click.
ESX, not
Yeah, but those
ESX.
are drivers. I don't know. Click on vSphere. This is so confusing. They changed it. So go click on hypervisor. Yeah, where is it? Then click. There is no hypervisor with one of one. Oh, click on that. Yeah, click on that. Okay, right there. Right there. Yeah. Yeah. Click on that. Okay. I want you to agree to the term and conditions and then click on the cloud with the arrow going down to download it. So this is your ESXi. So this is what we're installing right now. So we're going to download. They just recently allowed for us to download this for free. This was never available uh, last month. So we had to actually download the software from the old system. Okay, now I want you to. Okay, so I want you to I want you not nothing yet. I want you to open the file. Yeah, location. I want you to cut that, and save it to your software folder in your D drive in your T7. Yeah, and then
Um,
Create a new folder. Create a new folder. Call it 05 dash VMware ESXi 8. ESXi 05 dash ESXi. I. Small I. Enter. Double click and then paste it in there. Fantastic. So we're gonna install. So this is where we're now. We have the software. Perfect. We have the software.
It didn't. Yeah. It didn't finish. Oh shoot.
Oh, it didn't finish. Okay, just wait. Just do it again. Just do it again. Paste. Just do it again.
Yeah, I got it.
Go back to download. Go back to download. Yeah, the downloads folder. Highlight that. Right click. Cut. Cut.
Yeah. Cut.
Cut. No, not copy. Cut. Because you don't want that in the downloads folder anymore. Remember, that's your C drive. We're trying to save space, right? We're trying to make it faster. ESXi.
And paste. Oh, it's open in Edge, so it says that's why I can't complete because it's open in Edge.
It's open in Edge?
That's what it tells me. It can't
open in Edge. Open in Edge. No.
I didn't know I had it open.
Hey, cancel?
Yeah.
I don't see it open in Edge. Cancel?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, so do you have the warning? So go to the Edge icon and see if there's how many pages are open. Okay, so you see the open security, the dialog, close that. That's what that is. Close that. Yeah. Now go back to your file system. Yep. And then paste it. That's what that was the reason why. Paste it.
It's not in the they took it out of the
do Control V. Okay, so go to downloads again.
Yeah, hopefully it'll work this time. This is the charm.
Right click, cut.
Okay, I think I did it.
And then paste it. Awesome. There you go.
All right.
So that helps. That was the issue there. Okay, so just remember the warning. That was the warning. That's why it didn't allow you to do that. So I want you to close that. I want you to minimize all your screens. I want you to open. So that's where we download it. That's on the video in case you need to download it again. So this is where your downloads are. So go to my downloads on the left corner there. Right. So this is where all your downloads are, where you would have all your downloads, right? If they saved it, or my dashboard. Again, I don't know why it doesn't save this stuff, but I guess it's because you're not a customer. It doesn't tell you. But go to trials and beta. It doesn't show you. It just doesn't. That's not updated yet. Yeah, see, it doesn't update that stuff. It's weird. Anyway, so minimize that. We don't need this anymore. We downloaded it. We also downloaded the VSphere client. I've given you the link for that to download. That was from mine, just to save some time because it takes forever. I want you to open up your VMware Workstation Pro app. And this is the fun part. So we're going to build a new machine. We're going to create a new virtual machine.
Okay.
So I want you to click on create a new machine. All right. And we are going to do a recommended typical. Next. Okay. So this is where our architecture comes in. Remember what we talked about. You don't want to add the ISO software because we need to build the machine first. So as architects, we need to build the machine. So obviously when we come, our machines are pre-built with just a metal enclosure, and our admins or our server team, our technicians will go in and add the necessary CPU, hard drives, and whatnot. And our cable engineers will mount rack our servers. We'll get that all ready. We'll make sure, but we need to know how much we need to put in. So because it's a home environment, again, We're not installing our operating system. We're just creating our bare metal machine. So we will install the operating system later. So this virtual machine will be created with a blank hard disk. We don't have a disk. Remember that. So we're going to create this virtual machine with a blank hard disk so that we can mount, go to the data center and put in our USB drive or bootable USB drive or CD DVD of our operating system. So that's what that means. So click next.
Okay.
Any questions?
I think I'm okay.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to select the guest operating system. We're going to select the guest operating system. So we're going to create, you've created a 2019 server already, right? We're going to create a ESXi based on the drawing that we had. So do you remember that drawing that I designed? We talked about branches. We talked
Yeah.
about the okay, so you have your Windows Server 2019 already built, and you have the operating system installed. We didn't do any configurations yet because we need to build our machines first. So we need to build our ESXi model for this instance. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build a machine with a hard drive. We're gonna build a machine with RAM. We're gonna build a machine with CPU, and we're gonna build a machine with a NIC card, but we're not going to add an operating system yet, or we're not going to install the operating system yet because there's no hard drives to detect the software for your hypervisor. With me? So in this instance, we're going to
Say that
build.
one more time, please. Say that one more time. That was
So
really good.
we've built the machine. I need to come in. I have. Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so
There was a lot of wisdom in that statement you just made. That's what I
there
wanted to
was a
hear.
lot of information. It was good information too. So I'm going to build. Okay, so I'm going to take this picture with me. You're going to have a copy of this too, just in case, because I'm an artist. Okay, so I have one already in design. Okay. It's not an architectural design. It's not a real perfect, like, again, we can use software. There's different software we can use, like IO Draw. Obviously, we're going to make this more professional in a real environment, but again, this is just to kind of give you an overview, to kind of get you to go to sell this product to people, right? Because the CEOs and the CTOs need to buy into this, right? So in this environment here, I'm going to grab an arrow here, make this a little bit thicker. All right. I'm going to, should be a one-way arrow. All right. And I'm going to make my arrow. All right. Okay. So this is our ESXi, this machine, this black box that I created with our physical drives and our NIC. We didn't design this bare metal machine. There's no ESXi operating system. We need to build this machine. It's a bare metal machine with these hardware resources. You with me? So imagine this server here, right? This is going to act as our ESXi's in our data store, right? For our logs, for our transaction files, for our virtual machine files, for our data files, for our storage. So this machine here is what we're actually building in our Workstation Pro. You see my arrow? See my arrow?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because the arrow is telling the story. So this is where, and on top of this operating system is where we're going to build our machines within our software, right? That we're going to access here. Let's see if I can get it better. Yeah. With our VCSA client. Delete this. have this arrow, cut it. Sorry, I just gotta give you I had a better picture the last time here. I need to delete this. This is okay. So remember something. Okay, so here's my arrow. So we have the ESXi we're going to build now. We have our domain controller. We need to access the ESXi. We need the GUI. We need to access that VCSA appliance, that virtual machine that we're going to create. And this is all stored inside here, right? Right. So we're going to create these 2 disks. We're going to store all this stuff within these 2 disks, okay? And we're going to give it the resources. And we're going to give it the NAT, and we're going to give it the Ethernet, the physical, and we're going to give it that 1 gigabit NIC that we need. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So does that help answer your question? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Right. So where we had a choice of Linux, Windows, and VMware and others. So I guess we're gonna do a VMware EXi.
All right, I want you to share your screen.
Yep. Sure. Share. Yep.
And I want you to build a machine. And this guest operating system is our VMware ESXi machine. We already have our Ubuntu server. We have our domain controller, which is our Windows Server 2019, right? So that's our domain controller. And we're going to install ESXi 8. And we're going to click next. Okay? We're going to name this Wayne Collier, or whatever business name you have, whatever you want to call it. I would normally put my first name, my last name, and ESXi 1, because that's our first ESXi server. And then you're going to change the location to your. So I want you to do that. I want you to give it a name, give it a memorable name. And I want you to add the date that we created it.
For the VMware name?
Yeah. What do you want to call the VMware name?
Well,
Give it a super. I would call it. What would you call it?
I don't know. Turbo? I don't know.
No, what I would call it is, I would call it Wayne's ESXi server.
Oh, right. Okay.
And use the nomenclature, use abbreviations, make it secret. Like, give it something that it's not easily accessible. And then give it the location, US, for example. -US, right? Dash, and call it Wayne 01 or WESXi 01. And then we know that it's in the US, right? And then the date.
Okay. I got Wayne's. Okay.
Delete that whole line. Delete that whole thing. Delete it. Delete everything. Highlight everything and delete it. Yeah, there you go. So, and I wouldn't use the underscores. I would use the dashes, because for file names we use underscores. So I would use dashes in server names. Yeah, and then whatever that means, and then whatever you want to put next.
But then the date.
And then today's day. Yeah, so that I know you created it, and the day we created it together, right? So that way it's, how, like, for example, in product in a an operating system that's not licensed, it gives you a trial version or an evaluation. So you have in this instance, you have 3 months. Sorry, you have 60 days to use it. So 60 days counting from April 18th. So that's why I put the date. So I know when it expires. So I have 60 days after that date that I created it.
Okay.
After that, you just delete it, right? And then create a new one. For example, Windows Server, you created it on April 7th. You have 180 days free trial evaluation. So you have 6 months up until April 7th to use that machine. Ubuntu's free. Who cares? Because they don't have an expiration date. It's free. That's the only difference between Windows and OS and Ubuntu. It's a free trial. You just gotta buy the licenses for the specific software, right? You need the licensing for that, which is all subscription based. Okay, so the location. I want you to browse to the location and browse to your external drive.
Okay. I want to go to my external drive. Doesn't seem to let me do that.
Did you create two more machines, Ubuntu machines, and two more server machines, or were you able
I
to do that? Because that was part of the assignment last week. Did you create two more? Do you have OS Ubuntu 2 and Windows Server
wait,
2019 WC2?
I am deficient on that. Oh, here.
This course, as I was explaining to Wayne earlier, um, we built a course. I'm building a course
Uh-huh.
called installing OpenStack.
Okay.
As architects, it's good to know what that is and what it does. It doesn't necessarily mean we need to maintain it because we'll have our we have engineers that'll do it, right?
Right.
But it's good to virtualize this stuff and know how to virtualize and know how
Right.
to sell yourself, right? You need to
Yeah.
sell the product. It's a solution, right? So these solutions we need to be able to sell it as architects. So
Right.
we need to know the product. We need to know how it looks like. We need to demo the product. So in this session, I'm demoing this product for you guys. I want you to learn how to build it. I want you to learn how to architect, how to infrastructure it. Mark,
I
you
see.
said you came from an infrastructure environment, right? Hey,
Yeah,
tell me a little
that's
bit
correct.
about yourself.
Yeah, so I've spent many years in various IT roles, from banking fraud. Um, Also, I was a software uh, technical support,
Okay.
and it came from the HP Labs as well. Was a support there, and I met some very, how do you say, um, influential people uh,
Awesome.
being there. Yeah. But yeah, so
That's
my
great.
goal, yeah, my goal is
And
now basically cybersecurity. So
yes, so
that's
cybersecurity is the way to go.
yeah.
And to know the product, and
Mhm.
then to get and to know the product and be able to secure it from
Yeah,
cyber criminals is also important, right?
right.
As I was telling Wayne, I've been a professional for over 19 years.
Yeah.
I've been across different insurance where we are recording. Yes, we are recording. Yeah, we're just introducing a new our new student who came in a little bit late. I'm just going to review a little bit of stuff that we did. If you
Mhm.
don't know who I am, I've done this for 19 years. I've designed, I've implemented, I've planned. And again, I've architected a lot of systems for a lot of students. I've visited a lot of colleges. I'm also an academic trainer. I've worked with a lot of students in those type of colleges, and I also am a YouTube content creator. I create content for classes like this for engineers, for cloud engineers. I'm also a cloud engineer myself currently, but I'm becoming a cloud architect. And to become a cloud architect, you need to be able to sell your product, right? Not just know your product and design your product, but also know how to use your product. And Mark, coming from your background,
Uh-huh.
you may have been in contact with this product before. Have you ever heard of OpenStack? I guess my question to you.
Yeah, I have heard of it, but
You've heard of it.
hadn't
Okay.
had the opportunity to mess with it.
You're going to
So
learn how to actually you're going to actually learn how to design it and use it, and you're going to be able to actually implement it and code it. I guess my only question, and have you ever heard of VMware?
yes,
Have you
yes,
ever heard of
I've used
VMware?
VMware,
VMware.
and
Are
yes.
you okay? So you have familiarity. You have do you know what the difference between vCenter and ESXi is? If not, it's
Um,
okay. I could teach you that, but it's not a big
yeah,
deal. I'll
uh,
show you how to do that.
right,
And my
okay.
next question is do you have the available hardware, to learn and to get the knowledge and the training on this? Because, you know, you're as techs, we need to be able to prepare ourselves,
Yeah.
Mark, and be able to. I was telling Wayne and I was supposed to have somebody else come up, but I guess he went to go grab a coffee. So again, all these videos are recorded. I create videos for you. I will send you the video. I can send you the what's it called? The Microsoft version of the SharePoint. Sorry?
Never mind.
Yeah, so there's a Microsoft version of it. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. Oh my God. I went blank there for a second, guys. Give me 1 second. But I send a link over to you, and then you can watch. And I also upload those to my private YouTube channel. I gave you the link. Your Gmail is required. Yeah, so some of these videos will be only private to you guys, and some of these videos I've actually, sent out to the product because I want people to join. The more people I have, the bigger the classes, the better the better it is, right? This is an interactive class. I love. I've worked with you before, Mark. I've seen you work before, and you're very interactive. Don't be shy to ask questions. Stop me where you can. I was telling Wayne that as well too. I'm going to make this as easy as possible for you guys. I want you guys to build it yourselves and kind of say, hey, I built it myself, and then build more and learn more. And every time you learn a product, I can build my own product now. Like, for example, I'm working on a RAS, a remote access server, and a radius server where I designed and I'm implementing a VPN, right? And these are specific things that I can do with you guys, right? If you have your software, right? We can build the software. But my main goal and my this aspiration of this is to get you guys to build your ESXi, your vSphere environment, and your OpenStack. And then later on, we can learn how to create VPNs, using different within our own environments, right? So we know how to design this. We know how to build it, right? So I'm gonna. I think Wayne is sharing your screen right now. So what I did was for now, and I hope you can do that too. If you can open up your web browser, Wayne, for me.
Yeah, one second. The
Tell me.
system requirements for this.
Those system requirements?
Yeah.
The system requirements is you need at least an 8. Well, Wayne has an 8 gigabit laptop. With 8 cores.
Okay. So
you need at least
install it Windows, right? So
you can install. So, for example, what do you have on your laptop?
Yeah.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff, but
just hide. What I would do is hide everything that you don't use, and then share just what you have. Like, what you could do is open system preferences or system information. System info. So if you want to show them how to open system info, Wayne, in the search. So go in the search. System info.
I'm bringing down a bunch of
Windows. So as I was telling in the first video, I don't know if you watched the videos or not, but
I did. I watched the first one, and just to make sure what the requirements are. And I had a question about WSL and DevStack, but apparently that's
say that again.
WSL, because Windows has a Ubuntu on it, right?
WSL.
WSL is Windows subsystem for Linux, right? It's a Windows subsystem Linux.
Substack?
When you type in WSL in your command prompt in Windows.
Are you saying, we are going to be using Ubuntu.
Right.
Within our Windows,
Yeah. Okay. So what I mean is it's not a virtual machine. It's actually a subsystem, right?
No, it's not. You're right. You're right. That's correct. It's not a virtual machine. It's a subsystem. But what we're doing is we're virtualizing our environment. And again, let me share my screen quickly.
Okay.
Let me share my screen quickly here.
Sure. And let me bring up.
Screen, guys?
Let's see. I'm gonna bring up one.
You see my screen? So I've built an Ubuntu machine already with Wayne, and that's all in the video. So for the next class, if you have these ready, that way we can all catch up and get this done together. Because if we have our machines ready, then we can install our operating systems, right?
Okay.
So as you can see here in my drawing here, that's why I said if you guys can do that, that'd be great. But it's okay. We can go through this again. So not a problem.
Yeah.
So in this picture, right? And that's something we can discuss as well too, Mark. That's a great question. So in this question, in this diagram here, we have a laptop. We have Wayne's laptop. You see my arrow, and what he's doing is he's using his Windows operating system as Wayne's logged into his laptop. He's got his hardware resources, right? So what hardware resources do you have in this laptop?
Okay, I see. Now I see your design.
Yeah, so that's just the design that I drew, right?
Yeah.
For live. What do you have? So if you were to open, System
I
Info,
have it. I just need to open it. Let me just open it.
No problem.
Yeah.
Great question though, about the WSL.
Yeah, because I saw you're using Broadcom, right? And Broadcom bought out VMware.
Sorry,
right?
you cut off.
Oh, Broadcom bought out VMware, right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I saw that you have a Broadcom way of installing it.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Broadcom is, we're using Broadcom to download. You need to create an account. So that's what I would recommend is create an account. Create that account, download the Workstation Pro software, and Wayne, I'll show you what Workstation Pro looks like, and it'll show you how to download that. Get that downloaded, and then also download the ESXi so you're caught up. And this video here will show you how to download the ESXi software that we're going to design here. And this is our machine. This is our ESXi machine. That we are going to build in this laptop or in Wayne or in your laptop, right? And then your Workstation Pro is going to be your Hypervisor 2 software, right?
Now, So
questions?
this is recorded, right? So
this is all recorded
and move forward with it on Wayne's laptop, and then that way I'll watch it later and I'll get it installed.
Yeah. So again, put yourself on mute. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to type your question in the chat, or just pop up and say, "Hey, I have a question."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks for joining, Mike. This is going to be an interactive class, so I want this to be. It's a raw class. It's all is hey as you go. We do what you got to do type of aspect, and we're going to go. So, Wayne, can you share your screen? Fantastic. So, just to get things up to speed, this is our Workstation Pro software. If you can go to the help section, Wayne, for me.
Okay, so we're not going to save
right now. No, we're just going to go back. We're going to. Oh, no, sorry. We're going to save that. Yes, we're going to save that. My apologies. So you're going to create a new folder. So you're going to scroll up. You're going to go to virtual machines. Click on highlight Wayne's virtual machines. My apologies there. Highlight. Yeah.
This is
underneath Wayne's virtual machine.
Oh, okay.
Right click, and I want you to create a new folder. There's a button to the underneath folder. Right. There's a button that says make new folder there as well too, where you if you move your mouse.
Okay. I have the folder naming. I need to name
it. And then I want you to name it. What were you going to name it? I want you to copy. Actually, I want you to cancel.
VMware, right?
Cancel.
You want me to cancel?
Yeah, cancel. Yeah, I want you to cancel. Cancel for now.
Too?
Yeah, cancel. Just cancel. I want you to copy the virtual machine name that we have. So, Mark, we give it a name. We give it a name. That way, we give it whatever name we want. We can give it a company name. We can give it a nomenclature, we call it. We can call it Mark's Company ESXi1. Or in this instance, we have two data centers. We have one in Canada and one in the US, or one in Europe, or one in the or one in the UK, or one in China, or one in Australia, or one in Singapore, or whatever we want. We can create this virtual machine. So in this instance, I want Wayne to have two data centers. One of his data centers in the US, and I have one of his data centers in, we said, New York or Virginia, right? And then we also have one data center that's going to be in the US, and we have one that's in Kansas City. Um, in this instance, he's going to put this machine, yeah, he's going to put this machine in his US data center, right? We don't have that design yet, but we're going to build this design together. I've already showed my design and what a typical design looks like, and we're going to get Wayne to build this out for us, everybody watching one-on-one or in the group today watching, and we're going to build this together. So he copied the name. If you can copy the name, and then if you can go back to that folder, once you've copied that name.
Yes.
These data centers, yes, they are free. VMware now allows Workstation Pro to be free.
Should I
Our
rename folder
name,
to?
right click, yeah, right click and rename the folder. So yes, they are free, Mark. We are installing. If we're installing, our data center has Windows Server on it, right? Our Windows Server are not licensed, but they are trial based, they are subscription based, and they are evaluation based for 160 days. So these data centers are free for 60 days. We can also extend these another 160 days, which allow us to have it from almost over a year. So it doesn't really matter on one virtual machine. So I can actually have this data center for about 2 years if I want to. Um, with our Ubuntu acting as our data center, our domain controller, for example, or our virtual machines, yeah, it's free. So we can have those free. The only difference is the free 60 days. Yeah, we can extend the 160 days on our Windows Server environment. Microsoft Windows Server. Windows 10, 11, it's 90 days. We can extend it an extra 90 days. The only difference, the only issue that I have is the vSphere and the those need to be licensed. It only allows you to install. Yeah, so Windows 10 or 11, you can extend it, and I'll show you how to do that later. Yeah, they allow you. Microsoft allows you to do that. Um, vSphere and ESXi gives us 60 days, so we only have 2 months to test it. If you want to purchase the license, you're more than welcome to purchase the license. And I'll explain the different licenses and subscriptions between ESXi and vSphere in a later class, or later on in this class. So right now we have our virtual machine that we created. Thanks, Mark. Thank you. So right now I have our ESXi machine, just a bare metal machine that we built today. And 60 days from today, so that's why I put the date so that I know from 60 days from today, I need to extend it, or the evaluation period is done. Once those 60 days, you can't extend the ESXi. You would have to build another machine. Make sense? Or continue and buy the license, right? Or get a or just buy or just get a code. Like when you purchase it, and they're about $6,000 for the license, so they're really expensive. They're not cheap. They're about, yeah, almost $6,000 for an enterprise grade license for ESXi license cost. Yeah, we're looking at 4,700 per year per CPU. Average cost is about 48 USD per CPU per year. Again, then you have the additional support costs, right? And subscription costs that you need to factor in. But that's totally different, right? We again, it's not available for new deployments, but they offered free versions of ESXi, Mark and Wayne and everybody else, which is widely used for testing and home labs, which is what we're doing here. But in a production environment, they discontinued for new deployments for the subscription models. But again, there are paid editions, and there's different paid editions for vSphere, and I'll go through those different paid editions, and I'll go through the licensing per CPU cost because that's important. That's something that you're going to have to know as well when you're purchasing that. You need to know about virtualization, SAN storage. Are you going to use, because for example, we were going to talk about the difference between SAN versus vSAN, right? And having a technician go to a data center from the branch to the data center and physically, move a tray from the data center, or a disk from the server, versus what virtual SAN is, right? And in this instance, with ESXi, you can use vSAN, which is cheaper, right, for a lot of companies. And if you intend to use it, but you need to purchase a separate license for that, right? And that's all included. Yes, we talked about hyperconvergence. Yes, that's also hyperconvergence. I will send you over some notes and a diagram regarding HCI and convergence and whatnot. I think I sent that to Wayne. Wayne, can you bring that up for me? That picture that I have in the notes, and I'm going to send that. Yes, I want you to save that. Yes, correct. Thank you.
Okay, let me do that. Do that
Yeah,
now.
save that as well. Save that. Yeah. And I want you to click next. Yeah, stay here for a sec. So I want you to open the PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Yes.
My PowerPoint.
Yeah,
from
the
last
PowerPoint
week.
the one that I gave you. Yeah. So where we talk about convergence. So
Can
scroll
you
up.
see it?
Yeah, scroll up. So I'm going to send you a copy of this too, Mark. So you have it. Can you type in? Can you find? Can you find
What's the key?
hyperconvergence? No, where it says find and replace. Where it says no. In yeah, yeah, no, yeah, right there where it says find and replace.
Right there with this final place. Oh,
I
yeah.
want you to find hyperconvergence. And in this document, I talk about hyperconvergence because it is important to understand what hyperconvergence is, right? So hyperconvergence, if you can make this again, want to go back, and I'm going to send this to you, guys. I'll send this to you guys. You guys should have this. Can you go back to the hyperconvergence? Okay. So hyperconvergence, it's just software defined approach, right? When we're talking about uh, compute, we're talking about storage, we're talking about networking, we're talking about resources in a single system, right? So if you look at a typical diagram where we're simplifying that, if you can make that picture a little bit bigger for me, that little image, yeah, click on the image. Yeah, can you zoom in a little bit more? Right. Again, this, so yeah, this software reduces complexity. Yeah, it rapid scales your resources, Mark. It's agile. It's based on the utilization, the cost. So if you look at the actual, can you make that picture a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I can do one better than that. I can just.
I wish I can take control. It's not letting me, unless I take over.
Whoops, I just messed you up again.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. How about this? I'll stop sharing. If you could stop sharing, I'll take control, and I'll open up the document. Not a big deal. But Mark, I'm gonna send this to you, just because I don't want to take up too much time. But I'm gonna send this documentation to you, and this explains everything about hyperconvergence and how VMware, Cisco, Dell EMC, Nutanix, these different types of vendors are and how we use it for storage and how we use it for server. Not a problem. I hope that answers your question. All right, close that presentation. Perfect. I'm gonna send this to you over so you could take a look at it and read the different diagrams and drawings and the differences between those four. So I've outlined that for you guys so that you guys know what that means, right? Okay, so when we're specifying the disk capacity, we talked about two different things. We talked about storing it as a single file versus storing it as multiple file, as a multiple file. Uh, because we're in a home environment. I want to. This is not typical. It's not like recommended, but it's good to split it so that when we're copying or moving these files over from your, like for example, if you're installing it on your hard drive and you need to move this over to another server or transfer or migrate it physically, right, in your home environment, then I recommend you split the virtual disk into multiple files. Now, in our documentation in the note, I've already talked about what um the difference between thick provision and thin provisioning is, Mark. Um, so in this instance, it's all in the documentation and in the recording, so you can take a look at that later. So in this instance here, when we're building our ESXi machine, we're going to split this into virtual multiple files. So he's going to select the split disk into multiple files and then click next.
Oh, I'm sorry. So split and is the sizing okay?
And before we do that, remember something. You have a disk, guys. You have a disk. Your disk is 500 GB. If you give it 142 GB, it doesn't mean that your disk is going to lose 142 GB out of the 500. My recommendation, Mark, is if you can buy a server, you can go to the marketplace and buy a server that's got 128 cores, and you want to do that, please feel free to do that. Like I recommend that. But because this is a simple environment, you can go to the store like Amazon. If you can go to the store Amazon and show him what an external USB or a NAS is. Can you show him what a NAS is?
Say it again now.
If
So
you can open, if you can open,
I'm gonna leave the page.
okay. So if you can open up your Edge browser, I want you to and I want you to type in external USB drive or NAS. External USB drive. Enter. And I want you to click on any of them. Doesn't matter. So these are what an external drive looks like. You can plug this into your laptop. Right? Very ineffective, very cheap. Wayne has a portable USB drive with 2 terabytes on it, and that's perfect for storage. So you can go ahead and give it a terabyte. It doesn't mean that you're going to use a terabyte, right? So you can give all your disks a terabyte. You can give your disk. It doesn't matter. Just remember, the more virtual machines you create and save in this file. So if you can open up your folder and tell me the total that you have on that. Can you tell me what the total is right now on your USB? So right now, Wayne, we designed.
All right, remove the file locator here.
Yeah. Can you right click on that? Right click and go to properties. Okay. So right now he's only using 58 GB, right? So that's including his software that we installed, that we added. So he's using that as a software. So that'll eliminate having you to use your resources on your laptop, which makes it slower to open up these virtual machines, right? So the more you save, like if you save all your software on your hard, I don't recommend it because it just makes it slower and it's harder for you to manage, right? So what I recommend is to purchase something like that. As IT consultants and infrastructure and system engineers and cloud engineers and cloud architects, It's good to invest in your brand, right? We need to invest in our brand, right? So ensure that we have that space. So we have that space. So that space is there. So he's got about a 1.7 terabytes left of free space. So even if I give my virtual machines a terabyte hard drive, doesn't mean that I'm going to lose a terabyte. It doesn't mean I can't add more space onto that. No, it doesn't matter. It means that, you have that terabyte disk available and available for you to use. Now, remember, the more space you have on that external drive or NAS, the better it is, right? If you're creating 50 machines on that USB, then, you know, then it's good. It's a good thing. I have a question here. Sorry, my computer froze. No problem. You can join in. Just click on the link and we'll add you in. All right. Okay, admitted. So again, this thing is again, you can create 500 disks, 500 GB disks. You can as many as you want, as long as you don't utilize it, right? So there's times where you're taking you want to build an infrastructure for yourself, and you want to, and you're using that space. Then yeah, I recommend that you go with a higher TB amount of your external drive, right? For example, I have a petabyte hard disk. I have a petabyte of space. I have 256 GB of RAM, that I use. And I've got, for example, I've got, 100 cores, right? So I can create as many machines as I want on my environment and have as many machines on and running with the proper auto scaling and with the proper uh, resources at that specific capacity, right? So my capacity's not overclocked or not high. And we talked about that too with Wayne in the last couple classes. So that's all included in the other videos. But can you close that? So that's this is his external drive. And I expect everybody to, um, have that ready for the next class and have these machines at least ready so that we can follow along with installing the software, right? Um, so we've created the folder structure. We've saved it. We're gonna add the disk capacity. So this is how large do we want this disk to be. So it doesn't really matter how large we want it to be. We can typically give this 500. So I want you to give this 500 GB. There's no minimum requirement. There's no best practices. It's totally up to you. Like you can give for the minimum requirement for ESXi is 40 GB for what I've seen, and one CPU. So
All right, I have two CPUs.
sorry, one. You should have right now. You should have two CPUs, right? So two cores, right? So if you can customize the hardware, and we're going to specify the number of processors for a virtual machine. So if you can click on process, so this is where our hardware resources are. So this is our memory, right? We don't have to, we can give it 4 GB to run an operating system. We can give it 8 GB. We can give it 16 GB, as long as your laptop can hold that space, right? If you have a 32 GB laptop and you want to give this machine 8 GB, right? You could do that, right? So how do you know? How do you know how much CPU, how much RAM my laptop or your laptop has, Mark, or your laptop has? So I want you to open Task Manager from your Windows 10, from your Windows 11 laptop or Windows 10 laptop, from your laptop, not the virtual environment, from your laptop. I want you to open up Task Manager. So this is sort of your hardware, your physical hardware. And can you go to performance, please? Okay. So your CPU, can you make that a little bit bigger? Right. Right now you're utilizing gigahertz, right? So you're utilizing gigahertz. So this right here is using 16% of the allocated gigahertz speed that this 12 gen i5 processor is able to use. This laptop has 8 GB. The more machines you have on, the more memory your laptop uses. So if I have 2 machines running, I can overclock this machine and overutilize this machine at 100%, which would then freeze your laptop. So I remember we spoke about it in the first 2 classes, Wayne and Mark. Make sure that you, when you're doing this lab, you close the processes that you're not using. So if you go to the processes tab, and there's your memory, right? He's got 8 GB. So even if you have 16 GB.
I have one question here.
Yeah, no problem.
On this page, I see 2 Ethernet. Are those the VNICs?
Those are, yeah. So if you can go to your network adapters.
On this page? On this
network adapters. Network adapters. So no, on your laptop. So this is your laptop. So if you can go to your network adapters, go to network adapters or ncpa.cpl. NCP.
Network connections, is that good enough?
Yeah, you can type in NPCA. Yeah, so these are the adapters that we're talking about. The virtual adapters.
These are the 2 right here.
These are the 2. And then you have your Wi-Fi as well too. So these are the 2 adapters, right? And you're on different.
It doesn't seem to make a distinction between a physical versus a virtual.
Yeah, exactly. You're on a physical. So right now we're talking about your physical laptop, right?
Okay.
But virtual. These are virtual network adapters, right?
Right. These are virtual networks.
They're virtual. They're virtual, right? Okay. So can you minimize that? You understand? Okay. Does that answer your question?
That was perfect.
So you also have your Wi-Fi, right? You have your 2 disks. You have your C drive and you have your USB, right? So this is just performance, right? When we're as architects, when we're designing these things, when we're selling these things, we got to think about the performance aspect of it, right? How much? And again, we in this course, there's no goal. Like you should be able to go out there and invest as an IT professional for your brand, but you should also be able to utilize what you have. Like if you can utilize what you have, great. You're able to use and see the services and be a part of that, right? And build these yourself. That way, you can actually present these to people, right? And demo these to these people, right? If you can show me that you're able to do this, Mark, and show me that you have these machines created, perfect. Like that goes and shows me that you're dedicated, right? You're able to now demo this stuff and work on this stuff freely and research, right? And study these stuff. Like if you want to become a VMware certified professional, this course is the way to go, man. Yes, it's good to know a level of detail. That's right. Especially when you're able to talk about it. We will eventually have our system engineers or our cloud engineers, and our developers code this, but there's instances where you do it yourself. Why not? You're saving money. You're saving costs. Why hire somebody when your company doesn't need it, right? When we can automate this stuff. You can build this stuff. You can sell it to a CEO. You could say, hey, I want to virtualize our whole IT department. Or I want to virtualize because we're all going to work from home. Or I need to now have access to our data center through a VPN or VMware Horizon client where I'm able to log into our on-premises environment and work from home or use a VPN to connect, right? From point to site or site to point, right? Or use that VPN concentrator or whatever the case may be, right? To be able to access the data, which is important, right? To get the web access, to get the applications, the hardware, the software that's involved, right? The developer software, whatever applications we need, the file systems, the web servers, the print servers, anything. So this is performance. Performance is important, right? The better the better. So for example, this one here has 10 cores and 12 logical processors, which are virtual, right? And in as cloud architects, as cloud engineers, and we have virtualization enabled. So as cloud architects, as cloud engineers, as you know, system administrators, we need to know what a core is, what especially when we're going ahead and purchasing this specific hardware and software, right? So this instance here, he's got 10 cores and he's got 12 logical processors, which is virtual. Can you close that screen? Now I want to talk about the difference between, okay, so you see where it's yeah, good to know some level of your SME stakeholders. So yes, it is good. Absolutely, 100%. So you see processors, you see memory, right? We built this machine. We just gave it the basics. We didn't install any, we didn't even create a hardware yet. There's no hard drive. As you can see, there's no hard drive. We didn't give it a hard drive. I don't know if you guys noticed that. We gave it a network adapter. We have a CD DVD connected to it, and we have virtualization enabled. Now, as part of the hardware, you have your processors. You have to understand the differences between what processors are and what cores per processors are, because that is important, right? And we saw in the task manager, we saw that he has 10 cores and 12 logical cores. Now, logical cores, I also explained this to you guys in I think in class 2 and class 3, the difference between logical and physical cores. Please watch that video when you have some time, and follow along with that information. So in this instance, you have two processors. You've got number of cores per processor. This virtual machine has two processors with one core per processor, right? But we also have one processor with two cores per processor. What's the difference and what's better and what's not? For a home lab, my recommendation is one processor, two cores per processor, or four cores per processor, especially when you're installing these light ESXi machines. So for these ESXis, and then I'll also talk about licensing because licensing is available. So in this instance, I want you to have the number of processors to be one, Wayne, right? And two cores per processor, right? So I'm going to share my screen. I just want to draw it out because I have an image here, and I want you to bring this up for me because I want you to explain this. I've already talked about hyper-threading, but I also want to talk about. Can you bring up this picture I just sent in our Teams chat? This image I just drew. Drew this morning for you guys because I wanted to talk about it. In our chat, our Teams chat, there's a picture there. Can you bring that up to the screen so I can take a look at it? I want you guys to take a look at what I'm doing here, what I'm talking about. All right. So can you make that a little bit bigger for me? All right. Zoom in a little bit. So here's the difference between what two processors are versus a little bit smaller versus what one processor is, right? So in my left picture, we have two processors. So the squares are two processors and one core per processor inside the processor. So there's one core. So inside this one processor, there's one core, which means that if I have a server that's got 16 cores, how many cores do I have left? And there's a question for both of you. Wayne, how many cores do I have left if I have one core? and my server has 16 cores. Or Mark. Say for example, I have a server that's 16 cores. I went to the marketplace. I bought a Dell server. A Dell server. It's got 2 sockets. It's got 16 cores per. It's got 32 cores. I have now 16 cores per socket. Right. Right. How many cores are left over? If I've now put one processor in one of the 2 processors, I put 1 core, and my server has 16 cores. How many processors do I have left? Does that make sense? So I have 16 cores. Yes. So how many cores do I have left? In one processor. So I have 2 processors. I have 1 core in one of the processors. I have nothing in the other. So after virtualize, how much do I have left? 15. Now, say for example, my other processor has 1 core, Mark, and I have 2 processors and now 2 cores in each of the processors. How many cores do I have left? From the picture, can you share your screen, Wayne? Yeah, Wayne, can you share your screen, please, Wayne?
I'm
So
sorry.
I have 32 cores, right? I have 16 cores per socket and 2 socket processors, right? So I've got 2 processors. I showed you my left picture. I've got 2 processors. So the squares are processors. So that's 2 processors. Each processor has 1 core, right? Say for example, I have 16 cores. How many cores do I have left? 15. Yeah, we're not talking. No, it's not really virtualization just yet. We're talking about physical. We're comparing physical first. Virtualization uses hyperthreading, where it takes what and I talked about. Yeah, I talked about that already. Mark, good question. Yeah, I did talk about that in the last course. It'll be in the notes. Hyperthreading. It uses hyperthreading, and they're called logical cores when we're virtualizing. So in our physical bare metal, let's say for example, I have a Dell server. My physical drive, we're talking about I go to the data center, I go to the rack, and it's mounted. And this one has 16 cores, 32 cores, 16 cores per socket. It's got two processors. So can you bring up the picture, please? Yeah. So this is our data center, right? This is the left side. So if we look at the 2 processor picture, we have 2 squares. So 1 square is 1 processor. The one to the right of that is another processor. Inside each processor, we have cores. They're load balanced on each processor. So I put 1 core per processor. How many cores are remaining if I have a 16 core machine?
15.
Physically, 15, right? Right? So in this instance, because I have 2 cores, I have 14 cores left in each processor. You understand what I'm saying?
Got it.
Got it? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, that's very important, because if you don't if you're trying to explain this to us a tech, the tech should know this. But if you're explaining this to a CEO that doesn't know this, right? Or if you need to use this or sell this product or give a solution to somebody, you need to be able to know how to do this as well too, right? There is a difference. We're load balancing with these 2 processors. And again, for example, I have a Dell or an HP, right? It doesn't matter if it's a Dell HP server, like they're all servers, right? Yeah, you can do n+1 to use an equation. You can use the n+1. right? There's no like, I don't use equations, guys, but there could be a way where we can use an equation. Um, I don't use equations. There's like our study, the VMware doesn't the VCP course. Yeah, to clear and big. Yeah, that's right. But there isn't. So you have two processors. You've got a core in each processor. You have a total of 16 cores. If you've got two cores, you've got 14 left, right? You get what I'm saying? You've got 14 left. Now, say for example, you have one processor chip, one chip, and in those you have two cores out of the 16 core processor. How many cores do we have left? 14, right? Per processor. But if we're looking at two processors, we have 15 cores remaining per the processor, is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so very straightforward. There is no basic equation. We can Google that later, Mark, to see if there is an equation. I haven't really seen an equation being used. And again, that's something we can Google and look up later. Like, just know you should just know the number of cores the CPU uh impacts the processors, right? So it impacts your speed, right? Your performance. So for general, yeah, 2 to 4 cores are good to use. Like I've seen Macs use 8, and they've got so many. You can use 6 to 8 cores, right? If the application is mission critical, like a finance application, or a bank, like a finance or HR, right? Like those types of cores are being used because it uses, for example, Oracle software, and that application is so mission critical that it needs more processor speed or more cores to for its own use, to work better, and to utilize what you need to utilize. So understand that. So there is a difference between the two. So just remember the difference between having one processor versus two processors, right? On a physical machine, because that makes sense. There is no equation yet. I don't think there is any equation. There's nothing that I've seen, but that's something we can say. I don't know. We could say like the number of CPUs times the number of cores plus one. Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah. So you can say that yeah. So the total, yeah, exactly. Number of sockets times this. Perfect, perfect. So that's something we can benefit from that. Yeah. So I'll put that in the notes for us. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. So Wayne, as you can see, there is an equation we can use, and this equation, yeah, absolutely, 100%. There, there. So we Googled that one, and I was able to, and that helps. That helps a lot. And for everybody out there, when you're using this equation, just remember the total physical cores equals the number of physical cores, right? And let me stop. Let me share my screen for a second, and then I'll get you to share your screen again. All right. You guys with me? Oh. So for example, here's something that here's an actual machine, right? This one has 32 cores. It's got 16 cores per socket. It's got two processors. Then you have these types of machines, right? These are specific machines that are out there. Um, you know, when we're looking at the specific processors, we're also going to be looking at, for example, this machine, Wayne, is going to be one processor with 2 cores per processor, right? Um, just so that for our home lab, this is a best practice, right? So you can even add 4 cores, it doesn't matter. But just remember, 2 processors means that there's 2 licenses required on that single host, because that's important. So your ESXi license, when you purchase it, is based on the per socket license. Okay? That's important.
Okay.
So when we're looking at, so two processors means that there's two licenses, right? So in this instance, what would you use? Would you use the left side or would you use the right side? If I'm bringing up this picture, what would you use in terms of licensing? Would you use the left side or the right side for licensing?
The left side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So two processors means that there's two licenses required for that single host. So does that processor need two licenses?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, why?
Because you said it was based on the number of processors.
Okay, so what if okay, so what's the remaining license for then on that one processor? What would the other license be used for? If we're using so we have two processors, right? Now we have two licenses, right? And then which are required for a single host. So what two licenses would we be using?
I guess I'm a little confused between process. Is it based on processor or socket, or is socket the same thing as processor?
So one processor and two cores per okay, so we're going to be using that. We talked about that. So two processors means that there are two licenses required for that single host machine. ESXi license is based on the per socket value. And what's the per socket value? It's a processor, right? Per socket, it's a processor. You have cores per socket, and then you have sockets, which is your processor, and then you have your total cores. That's how that works. So remember, two processors means that there are two licenses required for that single host. So in this instance, when you purchase the ESXi license, it's based on a per socket. It's based on per socket. So what does that mean? And if you're using vSphere Plus, it's based on a subscription-based model. So what does that mean? So two processors, it means that there's two licenses required. So you need two different licenses for that specific host, right? Right? So how many licenses would you purchase? Two, right? What if you want to build two, right? Okay. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So any questions? Mark, any questions? So yeah, so yes, so the IBM servers, yes. So there is something similar. There's a similarity to the name. Well, the name brand, the actual brand is IBM. The servers are a little different, but the licensing for them could be different. Could be based on their the way they want to do it, right? It could be subscription based. The IBM servers back in the days, yeah, they were the same way. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna take this here. Is it confusing or you guys get it? You guys got it? Give me a thumbs up if you guys got it. Throw me a thumbs up if you guys got it. Just remember, in this machine that we're building one process. We're building this machine with one processor, and we're giving it two cores per processor. This ESXi. So that means we just need one license for this single host. We don't need two licenses. But in our home environment. But because this is in a production environment, there's 2 licenses required for that single host. Okay, let's move on. So, Wayne, can you share your screen, please? Just remember the picture that I sent you guys. If you have a 2-processor machine, you've got 2 cores per processor. You've got, and this whole machine is 16 cores. You've got how many left? You've got 15 left in each processor, right? Because if you've got two 16 cores total in the 2-processor image, you've got 2 16 cores, right? So that's 32. You're dividing it by 2, right? So in this instance, you've got 15 in one of them and 15 in the other. In the other one, you've got 1 processor and 2 cores. You have 14 left out of the 16. Yeah, you're taking 1 from each. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But you're splitting the processors. You're taking 1 from each. If I say the total is 16, you're splitting it in the 2 processors. You're splitting it. So you've got 15 in one and you've got 15 in the other. In 1 processor architecture, you've got 2 cores in 1 processor. You've got 14 remaining out of the 16 total that I gave you. And again, 16 is just a hypothetical number. Yeah. All right. So can you go back to your your Workstation Pro software?
We need to do a Workstation Pro. Okay.
Yeah, you could close that picture. Thank you. I appreciate that. You could close this picture too. Close the download section. Yeah. And then yeah. You started. Yeah. Can you open that? Yeah. There's 4 screens there.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Can we not share screen? Can you share your screen? I mean, are we able to take control? It's not letting me take control. What's going on
really
here?
sure if you're able to or not. We tried before, but we can see.
I was able to do that last time. That's not letting me today. What's going on?
Because I'm using a web browser because we said you.
Oh, you're on the browser. Okay, now. Okay, so then I'm gonna have you. Okay, so I'm gonna have you. Okay, it's based on your license. Okay, so you're using the free trial. That's why. Do you have Teams client? Do you have the Teams client?
I do.
Okay, can you open that for me, please? Because this will help with time crunch.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can open
This
that
will
up.
help a lot.
I
I know. We were saying before, using the client app versus the web saves resources, Mark. So we're saving resources, but it doesn't help with the training here. I apologize.
So what I will do is I can open up this meeting in the client.
Yeah. Just download the Teams. Do you have it installed already? Do you have Office Suite?
I absolutely do.
You have Office Suite already? It looks like you do have it. If you go to start,
I had it last time. I thought that was a lesson learned to go to the client.
Yeah. If you go to the start, go to the start menu, the start, Windows start.
Yeah.
Or type in Teams, open. So we're using this. Oh, that's why, because you're using the free. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, join.
Join the
Oh, yeah. Okay, join now.
I need to get into the other one, right?
Yeah, get out of the other one. Yeah.
Okay, I will get out of the other one.
Yeah. Try again. So, apparently, Mark, can you share your screen? Are you able to share your screen? Mark? I appreciate that. Thank you. No. To answer your question. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so we're talking about teams. Yeah, see, I can take control. Am I able to take? I'm able to now. Oh, you stopped sharing. I just wanted to show you how to take control. So in your instance, I'm able to take control of your machine, Mark. So it gives me the option to take control, and I'll show you what I mean here. I'll take a picture to show you guys what I'm seeing, the buttons that I'm seeing. So this button here allows me to take control of, and I'll send this in the chat. So this is in our Teams chat. If you can open up the Teams chat for me. And Wayne, if you, I know Wayne disconnected, but Wayne, before you come back, what I did was, Mark, can you open up your Teams chat on the other screen, and then just show me the image that I sent? Can you bring the image, just the image? Yeah, the last image. The last image. Just move that to another screen, maybe. All right. Hey, Wayne, you're welcome back. So here's the, if you can see the screen, this is the take control button that Mark has. Do you have this? I wasn't able to see that with you.
Okay, Roger that.
So this was disappeared.
I think it will work. We just have to do it with the client. Yeah.
Yeah, just for today, because it's but just to speed up a little bit of the process. But do you get what I'm saying? Like if we were to use the web-based, because it's not licensed, I think you need an E3. I think you need the essentials license for Teams that allows you to take control, or the business E3 license. But at the end of the day, we just need to take control. If you can allow me to take control, Wayne, are you able to do that?
Let's try it.
Thanks, Mark, for showing Wayne. We were gonna videotape that for you just in case you forgot or you missed it. Just so I can see that. Whereas,
so are you requesting to share?
Thanks, Mark, for doing that. I appreciate it for helping me there. Yeah, so I'm share your screen.
You want me to share? Okay.
Yeah. And then I should be now able to take control.
Okay.
So this is Workstation Pro, Mark. If you can get this installed for me for the next class, that'd be great. And then we can create 4 or 5 machines based on that video, and then have our ESXi ready for our next class, because once we have that installed, you are now able to actually move and follow along on your own environment together and make the changes together on the spot, right? And then if you're missing anything, you can always look back at the video, right? So I'm going to take control, and then this will allow me to control the content of the presenter that's sharing. So Wayne is the presenter. I'm requesting for Wayne to control, who's giving me his access. So Wayne, I'm waiting for approval. Okay. You should see that at the top of the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and Mark, that'll also happen to you as well the next time, just so that we can speed things up. But if you have it ready for me, Mark, the environment, that way we can all follow along together. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Okay, so you could see my name here, right? So we were in the middle of, no, we didn't build anything. What happened? Okay, so it's okay. So let's rebuild it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a new machine. And to mimic what we had before, close that. Okay, so here's the machine that we created. So this is Wayne's ESXi in the US data center. And I don't know what WC, and I put today's date. So I know 60 days from now, this license is going to expire. We customized the location. The location is his D drive, not a C drive. Just remember, if you save it to your, if you don't have a USB drive and you want to save it to your D drive, and then when you buy the USB drive and you get the USB drive, you can transfer that over. There's no big deal. You can create it on your physical location on your C drive. Just remember to cut and paste it over to your new location. Right? And then open the machine again. That's also in the video. So there is a point where you can create the video, customize it, and then cut it and paste it. But when you go open the machine, it doesn't work. You just need to open the machine. Mark, and everybody else watching, you just need to open the machine, and it's a VMX file. So the VMX file is part of the system itself, the file structure. So when you're opening up that file structure, you'll see the different file names, and that should be here. Just a little bit bigger. All right, let me show you here. Picture right here. Right here. So this is what the file structure looks like, right? So you have all these files, right? You have these different files. So this is where you're going to take this whole folder. Oh, cancel. You're going to take this whole folder and you're going to move that over to your external drive. So if this is your C drive, you're going to move it over to your external drive, right? With me? Oh, perfect. Thank you. How about you? Are you with me, Wayne? I know I've explained this to you guys already, but just in case, it's there. This is hyper-threading. We could talk about hyper-threading. It was all part of our old class. Yes, so the bigger the better, the more machines you can create. In my environment, I've created hundreds and thousands of machines. So I petabyte. I have a lot of RAM, so I can create these machines and not worry about having to delete them, unless the license expires. Right? If the license expires, then I can delete them, right? Or just keep them as storage for whatever I need them, right? So I can move them over when I'm training and stuff. I can now bring this with me and put this in your system and show you what this looks like, right? So again, hyper-threading, logical versus physical. This is what that means, logical versus physical. If you missed that, Mark. So yeah, that's what that is. So as you could see, the location, we can then move that if you don't have it. If you have it, perfect. Just make sure you have that just in case. We're not rich people, we're not enterprises, but if you have the money, please spend in order for. I was telling you guys earlier on in this video that as IT professionals, we need to invest, right? You're investing in your name, you're investing in your brand, you're investing in the product. If you're going out there to a customer and you're selling your product, you need to be able to have the product ready with you, right? That way you're able to demo the product and show the product live, and host the product for you. For example, I can host this product and have you guys log into this stuff, right? But that's not what we're gonna do. But eventually you can get to that point. You can host, students, and we can host different people. So again, operating system, ESXi, there's different types of operating system. And you need to go back into the video, Mark. I think you missed it. You'll see the different operating systems. We didn't create a disk, but we did give it a disk. We gave it 500. Doesn't mean that he has 500. 500, right? Doesn't mean he's only got 128. Doesn't mean that his physical disk is going to use 128 of it, right? But in this instance, he's using his 2 terabyte drive. So it doesn't mean that it's going to use the physical. It's not going to use all of the 2 terabytes, and you're stuck with a hard drive that's got less than 500. No, it's just going to use up. It's going to split those disks, right? Like I showed you here, it's going to split those disks. Have to go back to, there you go. So it's going to split those disks, right, into smaller chunks. I'll make this a little bit bigger. So as you can see, I was explaining before, I'm not going to go too into this stuff, but again, as you can see, this is thin provision. This is what thin provisioning is. And again, you're splitting these disks into smaller chunks. So when you're transferring them over, yeah, I'm going to give you that. Yeah. Yeah, you can get this. Yeah, 100%. And you can review these during the videos that I created. That way you have, you don't lose sight of it. You have it in front of you, right? And you can take a look at them. This will help you definitely. Yeah, no, not a problem. But like I said, these specific virtual disks, they're, these are divided. This file is divided into 2 gigabit chunks, and this can be easily transferred over. So we go back to our video. If we go back to our Workstation Pro, and the heck happened? Okay, so did it create it? What happened? What's this? You have a lot of screens open there. Okay, so I'm gonna have to close all this stuff out. Oh, got into the. That's okay. A lot of screens open there, so I'm gonna have to close all that out. Close that out. Close that out. A lot of confusion here. Okay, so let's stick to this one. So this is the machine. He's got 4 gigs. This can be all swappable. Like you can physically give this more if you want. Again, based on the performance, he's got 8 gigs. He's at 7.6. I don't recommend giving him that much because we need to install the software. So we need all the available resources that you got. So in this instance, Wayne, what I want you to do is, when we get to that point in the future, is to have a lot of these processes out removed, right? We need that 60 to 75% available. We need that 25%, right, to do our work. Right? So, 8 gig isn't a reasonable, but what we could do with what we got, you know what I mean? If it is what it is, right? In this instance. And I lost control here. What happened? So I'm going to take control again, Wayne. Yeah, this computer is really, you might have to go and I can't click anything. You might have to go and just close a little bit. Yeah, see okay, so we might have to figure something out with the sharing of the screen. Maybe Mark, if it's okay, if I can we can share your screen and create this the next time. I just need you to install this on your machine. If you can have this installed, that would definitely help. Perfect. All right. Wayne, can you close this machine for me, this task manager? Okay. So we've created the 2 CPU cores. We're going to finish it now. Yeah, if you need anything during that time, that you need help, just ask me. I'll help you. We're gonna do this again. We're gonna go live again in a couple days, and we'll come up with a date for the next time. Um, so I'm gonna finish this for now, and I wanna. So I created this machine, right? So this is our machine. There's a physical hard drive that it created. You see how it created that hard drive? We've created the hard drive, right? We're now able to, let's see if this changed. Yeah, so we did the changes. We enabled virtualization, right, for Hyper-V, right? Our bare metal machines, we need to do that. And we are leaving it at 4 GB for now. I've seen a minimal amount of hardware resources for memory. The minimal should be literally 2 GB. But when we're installing ESXi, we can go up to 4. But I've seen ESXi's with 16, 32, based on the amount of storage that is on it, right? But to install this, you don't need that much, right? So just make sure you have 2 GB available at least to install it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and add an extra disk. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to add an extra disk. And in our drawing, Wayne, if you remember, in our drawing, um, I sent a picture up here. There was a picture that I gave you guys. First picture here, if I can grab this here. Okay, copy. And I'm going to paste this again for you guys. And no problem. So here's the picture. Okay, so in this picture, I gave 4 network cards, Mark. I know you came a little bit late. And Wayne, do you remember we're going to give it 2 drives? And we said that one of them is going to be for the operating system, which is going to have our bare metal. It's going to host our bare metal. And then the other one's going to be for storage files. Make this a little bit. Let's go bigger here. Okay. And this will be in the notes as well too for you guys to see. So this is going to be our physical drives. They're physical drives, right? So, but we're in a virtual environment. We're virtualizing it, right? So this is known as a hypervisor 2. So if you could, as you guys can see, this is the hypervisor 2. So from our laptop, we're on Windows 10 or 11. We're utilizing our hypervisor Type 2 software, which is Workstation Pro. So this is our Workstation Pro. And then we're building our machines on top of that. So this is sort of our environment that's built on top of this laptop, right? So again, we're gonna have 2 drives. So we're gonna create those 2 drives, and we're gonna get 4 network cards. So I'm just gonna create a new drive, right? And we're gonna create the recommended, and we're gonna create a new virtual disk, right? And we're gonna give it again 5. Doesn't matter what we give it, right? You can give it minimum 40 for the installation for the software. I gave it 500, but again, your software should have like 40 minimum. It'll still work. Like, you don't need that much. You can do 150. Depends on what you want, right? Whatever you're planning on installing. Now, if you want storage, you got to make it a little bit bigger, right? So you can split these into multiple disks, like I showed you, so that's easier to copy and move. And then you'll see the disk file name. It's just automatic. You don't need to worry about that. Um, Again, this will be saved on that location. Just make sure it's saved on your USB and click save and then finish. Right. I've now created my 2 disks. Remember, the hard disk has the operating system that's going to be installed on it. And then the new hard disk is going to be the storage, right? So the more you add, the more storage you're going to have for your physical bare metal machine. We're also going to have network adapters. I'm going to add some network adapters. And then in this instance, we just add network adapters here and then just click finish. And then we're going to add it again, another one. Network adapter, finish. And this is best practice. Right click, add network adapter. And you can utilize the services, right? Like DRS, fault tolerance. So this is why we add all this stuff, all these adapters, right? We're gonna add another one, right? And then we're gonna hit finish. And then again, Mark, I'm not gonna explain the network connections to you, but I want you to take a video. I want you to take a look at the last video that I'll show you, and the documentation will also explain to you what these are in the last video, because I want to move on now. And not just used to share our host IP, which gives us internet connection. So it's better just to kind of specify a virtual network, right? For this instance, it doesn't matter what you give it. You have 19 available, right? If you want to give it network, you give it VMnet 8, your first adapter, and that'll give it internet. And then the rest you can utilize. Just remember it's sort of like VLANs. So if you have a VLAN, if they're not on the same VLAN, they can't communicate with each other. If my next machine, my Windows Server machine here, this one here, Wayne, where it says library here, where it says Windows Server, if that's not part of the same VLAN or VMnet, then they can't communicate with each other. So just to kind of give you an example, I'm going to make our first network adapter NAT, right? And I can give myself static IP addresses, right? Based on what I want to give my domain controller. And I want you guys to build that too, Mark. So you have your domain controller, you've got your Ubuntu server ready, right? And which is ready to go and powered on. He's able to now power these two on. And then this one here, he's got his ESXi machine ready to go, right? And then he's now able to load the ESXi software. And we're going to browse for that. And we're going to go to our external drive, or our software sign, I call it, right? And we'll go to our software library, and we'll go to number 5. And this is his ESXi machine. We're loading that. And this is where we're going to now able to turn on the machine and install it. So we should now be ready to install the software. So I'm just going to power on the machine. And there is a trick, and I know I spoke to Wayne about this, Mark, but you need to double click on that in the black area and then click a key, right? And then it says, look, you see how it says here, virtualized is not supported on this platform, right? Make sure that this is not enabled. In a virtual environment, we don't need it. Again, it's not supported on this platform, so you don't need it. So all you need to do is continue and just make sure that you don't add it in your architecture when you design your machine, right? So I see how it doesn't work. So you have to power off the machine, Wayne, and then uncheck this, and then click OK.
Okay.
Right, and then power on the machine. And then this should now fix that error that you guys saw. There you go. And this is now installing it. So this will now install it. Yeah, I can stick around, Mark, 100%. And then as that's loading, I'm going to open up the Ubuntu server. I want to show, if I have enough memory, I want it to show Mark. Can you open the server for me? Windows Server 2019. Can you just double click on it? Again, you can do whatever you want now. You can go on the other machines. You can work while this is installing. Did you install the software? Did you install it? Can you power it on for? Can you bring this down to 2 GB memory? Yeah, give this 2 GB memory. 2 GB. 2 GB.
2
So,
GB.
yeah, that blue marker there. Right.
Okay.
So Mark, this marker, if you see this blue marker, he's got his maximum recommended memory mark is 6 GB, right? and his recommended memory is 2 GB. So with this machine, and this is a Windows server, I recommend the more memory you have, the better. Remember, you can open more machines, right? I recommend that. Again, there's like if you don't have the hardware, you do with what you have, but there's other possibilities where, um, there's something called VMware. Can you type in VMware HOL? Because that's something else I want to show you guys.
Down here?
Yeah, VMware HOL. Search. No, search for it in the web. VMware HOL. VMware HOL. It's a hands-on lab, HOL. And this is where there's an environment already created for you, right? Where you can go in and down and do the same thing that we're doing. But I recommend you do this so you get hands-on experience of creating these yourself, right? Click enter, scroll down. You're looking for something called VMware Hands-On Labs. VMware Hands-On Labs. Yeah, right there. VMware Lab Platform. And this is a real life platform that's already designed. This is already designed for you, and you can use this and follow along. And I want you to create an account for this. Wayne, not now, but later. Just create an account for this for the next time. And I want you to type in virtualization. And here, I can do that. Virtualization. And this is in case you want to look at it yourself, right? Right. So if you type in virtualization,
It's sort of like a sandbox, and
yeah, this is our sandbox where you can actually follow along and click on certain things. It's sandbox. So I call this the sandbox environment. And this is also in our notes as well too. But I want you to create an account after, not now, but make sure you have this ready for the next time. So can you click on this here, close that. And then if you click on enter, should give you enter.
sure.
Enter. Should give you a selection. It should.
Selection is right here. It's this class right here, right?
No, but if you type in virtualization,
Search.
it'll give you the one that I'm looking for.
There's some choices down here. You don't mean that.
It's
Doesn't allow
called
me to-
okay. So let
doesn't
me
allow me to
log in.
enter right now.
No, give me a second. I'll tell you what it's called. There's an actual name for it. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. I didn't think I had time to explain this to you, but I do now. Give me 1 second, okay? What's this? 1 second. My apologies. But yeah, like if I were to, so when you create the account, right? When you create the account, it's called Virtualization 101. Virtualization 101. HOL. So look for Virtualization 101.
Okay.
That's what it's called. It's called HOL. This is the code. And this is an introductory lab. There we go. That's the one. I want you to enroll in that one. Enroll. Right? And this will show you step by step of basically what I'm doing for you guys. I'm actually building it for you guys. But this is already built for you. But yeah, so log in with your Broadcom account. And Mark, I need you to do the same thing, please. Log in, create a Broadcom account.
Get my password here.
And log in to VMware HOL. This is your assignments, right? Count. And then log in, virtualization 101, and go through the, yeah, that's the one, 101, yeah. So enroll now. you have time. It's actually time. You got an hour and a half time. And if you go through that whole thing, you don't have to do it now, but if you go through that whole thing, you can actually go through the step-by-step guides of what we're actually doing. Okay. This is actually, and then I also want you to go through the labs, and then 3, create a Windows Server 2019
Similar to the first one
server.
with the 2 NIC
Yeah,
cards and the 2 NIC
yeah,
cards and the whole nine.
yeah. That's all part of the video. Everything is in there. Like, okay, so I want you to close that right now. Close that. Yeah. And I want you, okay, so I want you to go back. So this is our setting. This will also be in the video, right? Everything's going to be in the video here. So again, we're talking about that. And then, and I want to give you guys the assignment in a second, but I want you guys to do that for the assignment, create the account if you haven't done so. And then send me a snapshot when you guys are done. And then, so the recommended is 2, just to get this machine to run, hopefully, with the available physical resources that you have, Wayne. So I'm trying to basically, it's recommended 1 GB, but that's if you have like your Active Directory installed. Like you can run it off 1 GB. I've run it off 1 GB. I'll be honest with you. 1 GB like I had my DNS, I had my DHCP, and I had my ADDS role installed with 1 GB of RAM. Okay, but recommended is 2. Let's see what happens if we turn them on together. So let's power on this machine. So that's what we gave him, guys. So make sure that it's the same aspect, and then we'll go ahead and continue with this in a second. Can you do me a favor? Can you power on that virtual machine before you
Which
hit
one?
continue? The server,
The ESX?
Windows Server, the second machine. It's not letting me click. Okay, there we go. So power on this machine. So you said that you installed server already? So let's see. Did you install it already?
I don't know. We just pressed it.
No, you didn't install it. So we won't be, you need to install this. So it was part of the old video.
I need to install that on that
Oh, it is
Windows.
installed. Hold on, what happened here? It is installed.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen it done before. I've used it a couple times.
So yeah, as I said, like I said, you're utilizing a lot of your CPU. Just remember, like, have that 75% availability in your processes, guys. Remember what we talked about? Like, utilize look at his memory and CPU. It throttled so much because you've got so many apps and processes open, right? And half this has to do with the client based, obviously. You're not going to go through this issue, but just remember Teams. For this instance, yeah, because you have an 8 GB laptop, it's not the recommended way to go, but have 60%, have 75% available for me so that I have that 25% to run 2 machines at least, right? Because especially when we're doing vSphere, and we're marrying the 2 machines on the same VNet, you'll see that when we're creating our Active Directory in our vSphere client, both machines need to be able to talk to each other, right? You'll see that as well, Mark. So again, make sure you have that utilization. You can do this later. I
was just gonna try to close something.
So he's got your machine. I want you to log in with the password that you gave it. Do a Control-Delete. You see at the top there? So right now he's got Windows Server 2019. And I want you to do the Control-Delete here at the top.
I do that by pressing something.
The 3 dots, the 3 boxes at the top, where my mouse is.
That
Yeah,
thing.
that you're sending. So that's sending a Control-Delete, and then
Yeah,
you're
I
able
don't
to
even
sign.
I don't know if I gave it a password.
No, you did. You did. You wrote it down.
Yeah, I have it written somewhere. I do have my notes here.
Okay, while you're looking for that, can you click on the ESXi for me?
At the bottom here.
No, the Wayne machine, yeah. And I want you to hit continue. I want you to double click on the black area. Yeah, so you have, so remember, Control Alt removes the mouse where you're able to locate it. So if you see that you can't move your mouse and the cat caught the mouse, I want you to release the mouse. I want you to hold the Control Alt key on your keyboard, and that'll remove the mouse where you're able to now utilize the options and icons on your laptop itself. So to get into this machine, virtual machine, I want you to double click, and I want you to use your mouse and click enter for me. Can you do that? Can you press enter? Which will
Double click.
continue. Yeah, double click and then enter.
I'm not crazy
Enter.
about my mouse.
Or Control G.
Control G.
I want you to press Control. I want you to press enter. Okay. I want you to press F11 to accept the EULA. All right. So do you remember the two disks that we created, guys? Do you remember the two disks?
Yes.
No? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we're going to use the first capacity for the operating system. So our operating system is going to, and that's separate from our storage, right? So we can select, right? If you hit F1 on your keyboard, F1 on your keyboard.
Right.
There you go. So this is the details of the disk, right? So this will tell us the LUN ID. This will tell us the path. This will tell us if it's found or not because we haven't really installed, and if it's an SSD drive or any data stores that are included into this. So if you need to know where this what this is, especially when you're migrating over, when we migrate over from like 7 to 8, you have to go through these steps, right, to make sure that you have. So if you need to know where the path is, like the root directory, uh, remember in our Photon environment, our half Photon, half VMware code, um, it uses Linux based, right? So it doesn't use an NTFS partition, guys. It uses an VMFS partition. So this is where it'll create our disk. So if we were to log in and putty into these machines or log into these machines and putty into them, then locate these paths, we should be able to see these disks created, right? So if we need to know the capacity, we need to know the target IDs, we need to know the LUN IDs, what type of interface it uses, the full disk name. So this is called MBX, right? And then it'll give you the code name or the disk location name, right? So whatever the location is. I can't remember what the CO, the TO, and the LO mean, but you guys kind of get the gist of it. It kind of organizes it that way, right? So I want you to hit OK. And HBA is host base adapter. And that's actually talked about a lot. Your HBAs are talked about a lot when we talk about read and write for controllers. When there's two controllers in a storage array, when we're trying to provide high availability, it uses HBA controllers. Um, not sure if you guys know what that is, but that's what HBA is. So I want you to hit enter and continue. Okay, and I want you to select your keyboard language. So US default, enter, and then type in your root password. I usually use a class. I usually use a class password so that I'm able to log in without having to forget it or anything. But I can create my own password. But I want you to create yours based on your lab environment, right? And then don't forget that. And same thing for you, Mark. Just create your own password, log into it, Obviously, administrators create their own, but it doesn't matter. This is a home environment. So let's see this error. So it says, during the scan, the system occurred the following. Hardware virtualization is not a feature of the CPU and is not enabled in the BIOS. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cancel out. We're going to shut off the machine. We're going to shut off the machine. Do you have um
How do I
do you
click
have
back into the
this
thing?
in it? Yeah, cancel. I want you to cancel. So this is basically saying that you have Intel VTX installed. So I want you to cancel.
I'm pressing cancel,
Escape.
but it's not working.
Escape. Double click and
Um,
press escape.
all right. I'm sorry. I'm having a little bit of a brain cramp here.
So okay, so
I'm
use
pressing
Control
escape
G,
twice. Control G.
Control G, and Control Alt. Okay, there we go. And then F11 on your keyboard.
Sure.
So this
function
just
11.
means that's okay, no worries. F11 or Shift F11 on your keyboard. And why am I not able to click? Doesn't let me click. Let me try taking control again.
Might be throttling a little bit. That's why we went to the went to the
Yeah, no,
browser
not a problem.
before.
No, not a
That was
problem. Not a
part. That
problem.
was the
Not a
reason
problem.
why we went to the
All
browser.
right.
We thought the
No,
browser
no
would be a good
issue. No
idea.
issues at all. So I want you to shut off this machine.
All right. I need to Control G.
The browser is a good idea to save processor speed because we noted that. Remember, we saw that you had like 80% when you had Teams because Teams it utilizes a lot of GPUs and RAM. But because it's a free version, that's where it kind of we spent a lot of time with the free version. But it's okay. It is what it is.
Okay, I'm trying
Uh,
to find my mouse right now. I need to do what to get back to my mouse.
all right. So I'm going to take control. Control Alt is to release the mouse cursor. So to release the mouse
Okay,
cursor.
there we go. Yeah,
There you go.
got it.
And then I want you to, let me control and then see if I can now click. Can I click? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let me take control now. I'll take control of this. So as you can see, that error came up, right? So my initial intent is to power off the machine. Okay, not shut down the gas, but power off the machine. Oh, it's not letting me click.
So we need to do power off.
Click
Maybe
power off. Yeah, just power off the machine. And then hit power off. All right. So let's go back to our virtual machine settings. Let me see if I can click on that. Okay. And then let's go to our processors. And we've disabled that, right? But your laptop, it's saying your laptop, does it have, I wonder why it's not working. So let's see if we're able to. Do you have Intel VTX enabled on your laptop BIOS? So when you shut off your laptop and you go to your BIOS, is it enabled?
I'm not really familiar with what that is.
Okay, so you're not familiar with BIOS? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
I know what BIOS is.
And I've
You
actually
asked
added this
about
into our
Intel. You
notes
asked about
because just in
Intel.
case.
I know what a
Yeah.
BIOS is, but I'm not familiar with the Intel, whether or not it's
Oh,
enabled.
yeah. No worries, no worries. So Intel is the name brand.
You know, because it says right here the version of the BIOS is on the screen. Oh, you don't see it anymore, do you?
Yeah, so this is the BIOS. So when your physical laptop, so this is going to be on your physical laptop. So you're going to shut off your physical laptop. You're going to press F12. So imagine this being your server, and your server has a BIOS. Mark, do you know what this is, Mark? Have you seen this before? So there's something called virtualization. And typically, if that's or Intel virtual technology, if that's enabled, that might
I've seen that.
that might ruin a lot of the stuff, right? So
Yeah.
so we look at the VMware compatibility matrix guide, and again, we can actually bypass that and you know add the monitor allow legacy CPU to true type of thing. So we can actually so we can actually modify our VMX file to make this work, right? But if you have the Dell customized ESXi ISO from, right, you have it's a little different, right? So what you're going to do is on your laptop, you need, because you're not using Hyper-V, because Hyper-V uses Intel VTX a lot, Hyper-V, a hypervisor virtualization, which is Microsoft product. I recommend you turning it off on your physical laptop. So I want you to shut off your, not now, but I want you to shut off your physical laptop, and I want you to um, try it again, and it should work. Once you turn that off, you save the changes, right? And I think by doing this is you would power off the machine, right? And then you would hit F12. I'm not sure what your laptop is, but I think you would hit F12 or F1 or delete or escape or so one of the keys would help. I'm not sure, depending on your laptop model, whatever it is. And I want you to look for something called control Intel virtual technology, right? What I would recommend you do is open up um, a internet browser, right? And then what model, like what laptop do you have, Mark? Wayne and Mark?
I have a 64 base PC. I have my
Is it an
manufactured HP.
HP? Is it an HP or Lenovo?
HP.
Lenovo?
HP.
HP? HP. Okay, so what's the model? HP. HP what? ThinkPad, HP, ProLiant, HP, Envy.
It's a 15 FDO XXX, whatever that means.
All right, can you share your screen and go to system information?
Yeah, I have it up right now. I'll be happy
That'll
to.
tell you what model it is.
Yeah.
So Mark, you have a Lenovo, right? Okay. So what I would recommend is Google what F function. There we go. So right now you have a laptop 15, HP laptop 15 FD0XXX. Okay. So what I would do is copy that system model and then Google BIOS key. Like, how do I get into the BIOS for that model? And then same thing with you, Mark. Lenovo, same thing. What I would recommend, I'm not sure if it's F1 or F2 or F12. One of the keys will allow you to log into the BIOS, right? And then once you're in the BIOS, like mine is F12. So if I press F12, it gets me into the BIOS, right? So I'm now able
Okay.
to, right? So what I want you to do is copy the HP laptop, copy that system model, copy, yeah, and then open up a browser,
Allow me to
open up
copy.
an
I
internet
can remember
browser,
it. I can
Google
remember it. No
Chrome
worries.
or Firefox or
Yeah. Just give me
Edge.
a quick second here. I'll get it.
Yeah. All right.
And go to. You want to use AI or you want to use Google?
No, no, we're here. We're here. Just paste that. Paste. No. That's yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could have just put it in the search bar.
Roger,
But
got it.
yeah. But Chrome. I'm saying Chrome is the internet browser, or Edge. You can use either Edge or Chrome. But within Google, type in your model. I don't know what everything varies. Like, for example, I know Mark with your Lenovo. What do you have, Mark? You said you had a Lenovo, right? Do you have a ThinkPad? Do you have a what model do you have? And then yeah, enter. What does it say? Scroll down.
Yeah.
So yeah, F10, I think. Scroll up.
There's F10.
Yeah. But you get the point, right? You get the gist, F10, right? And then you would have to look for Intel virtualization. Again, you'd have to, I don't know what your laptop has. There's many laptops out there. Mine is different, right? But what I would recommend is I would search for access to BIOS first. And then what I would also, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Scroll down. So this is a perfect on the video. Go scroll down. Scroll down. Okay, so F10, right, would be for this laptop, right? And then scroll down, 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 scroll down. So this will tell you the menu. Scroll down. So we're going to be looking for virtualization, right? Basically what I showed you on the picture. Scroll down, scroll down. So this is storage. What else is there? There's device configuration. Hold on, slow down. So this is your boot security. Scroll down. Scroll down. Look for virtualization. Do a Control F. Control F, find. And then Intel virtualization. Virtual. Yeah, that's it. Enter. Okay. Just Yeah, so same thing for you, Mark. Same thing. You would need to find out where that option is. You would have to turn that off because it won't work if you turn it on.
I
That's
don't
why
think it
you
hits.
won't be able. You won't be. There you go. Virtualization technology. So ensure that yours is disabled. So that's in your system security settings. Okay. So
Okay.
keep that here. I'll keep this. Let me take a picture of this. Yeah. And I'll put this in the notes for you. Okay. So this here has to be disabled. Okay. Right. I'll put that in the chat and I'll put that in the notes. So you guys should have that in the chat. And then same thing for you too. Yeah. So Mark, in your instance, you have a Lenovo ThinkPad. What I would recommend is you would say F1 or F2, depending, or use even the function key. A lot of the keyboards, they'll have the function key where they use their F keys for like volume, sound, light, print screen, share screen, screen monitorization and stuff like that. So what I would recommend is try to figure out what the function key is for that. So in your instance, it's F10, and if F10 works, perfect. If not, great. Can you do a Windows key R for me?
A Windows key R.
Windows key, yeah, Windows key R.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay, and I want you to type in uh FSK.
I can't find.
Oh no, OSK. Sorry, on-screen keyboard. My apologies. OSK, not FSK. OSK. OSK. The letter O as in Oscar. S K. Enter. On-screen keyboard. So you see that function key? That's that function key on your keyboard. So that's what Mark is talking about. So it depends on that. Sometimes pressing F1 or F2 doesn't work. You'd have to use the function key in uh in like together with the F key. Um like for example, function F10 for it to get to the BIOS. Right? Okay.
Oh, this is pretty cool. Let's say if you had a broken keyboard, maybe you can
Yeah,
use this
yeah.
instead.
So this is function. Yeah, so this is sort of like a kiosk, right? So I use this for kiosks. Can you minimize that? And you can save that later. This will also be on the video for you. I want you to open. So that's good. Save this page because you know where to go. I want you to open Workstation Pro. Workstation Pro.
Okay, Workstation Pro. That's already
Yeah.
open, I think, right?
Yeah, we're not gonna shut off our computer yet. And I want you to go to, yeah, I want you to
I
click
have
on.
multiple things open on this. I probably should get close some of those.
Yeah. But just know for next time, our next video, guys, because we're getting close, right? Um, just
I
make
need
sure
to
you
go.
have,
Okay, I need to go up here to one of these servers.
yeah. So what I want you to do, so for example,
Oh, it's already open.
if you go to, let me see if I can take control.
All right, I see you. I'm letting you in.
Awesome. All right. So for example, you have the Windows server, right? If you use the Control A, it'll get you out. But if you double click or press Control G, it'll put you inside the VM. Just remember that. Control G or double click will get you inside the VM. Control Alt will remove you from the VM, allowing you to access your laptop. Okay, so that's something you need to be aware of. And this you can remove. Remind me, like I can't click anything. Can you click remind me later? The bottom? Yeah. Remind me later. Okay, perfect. All right. I want you to double click on. So, do you have an operating system installed already or no? No, right?
In the
Okay.
Windows,
Yeah.
I have Windows Server, so I have to have operating system.
Okay. So then, what I want you to do is go to the settings and add the Windows Server in there for me.
Within this
So we have
server,
this.
on the
So we
server,
have this on the video. Yeah. So
on
we're
the
gonna
server
install. Yeah. So what I want you to do is right click on that for me.
up here or down here.
Right.
Okay.
Right click. Right click on Windows Server 2019 on the tab here where my mouse is. Yeah.
Right.
And if you go to power, right? You see where it says power on to firmware? That's
Yeah.
your BIOS. That's your BIOS. The only way
Okay.
you can get to the BIOS in these virtual machines is if the machine is off. So if you go to Wayne ESXi,
Right click again.
power onto firmware. Hit OK. So this will go directly to our BIOS
Okay.
of our virtual machine, not our laptop, right? Just remember what I showed you earlier, like 2 seconds ago. Yeah, so this is our boot manager. You don't need to know all this, right? But for example, if you need to boot from CD, DVD, for example, you can move the mouse now up and down up and down arrow keys. If you double click inside and then use the down arrow, double click inside the box, and then use your up and down arrow key anywhere. And then use your arrow keys, up and down arrow keys on your keyboard.
Didn't like me.
Okay, press Control G. And then use your up and down arrow keys.
Control G.
Double click. Okay, so either you double click inside, that's one option. You could do
And the reason we're
Control
doing
G,
this is because we
and then
want
you
to
should be
change
able
the.
to now, there you go up and down with the, there you go, with the up and down arrow keys. So
Right.
this will allow you to go in and out of, so you enter setup, go to enter setup, or you can use the IDE CD-ROM drive to boot from your CD DVD, right?
And
This
what we're
is
going
where
to do is we're
you
going to
could
disable the
configure.
virtualization. Is that
No,
what we're going to do?
you're not gonna. This won't allow. No, you can't disable virtualization here. It's on your physical laptop.
Oh, okay,
You
roger
can
that. Okay.
you can configure, manipulate the lists of your bootable devices. You can configure the screen size here. Remember, the BIOS is totally different on your laptop.
I just wanted to know what we're going to do here. We're going to do something.
No,
We're going to
I'm going to show you the difference because you're not virtualizing it in a virtual machine. You're virtualizing it on your laptop.
Okay, roger that. So what do we need to change something here? I guess that was my.
No, but it's
Okay.
you're gonna see this because you're gonna understand that. So go to configure drives. But it's good to note that this is where, like, if you want to boot from your ISO, right? Say for example, you see this screen because you will see the screen. If you don't touch, like for example, if you power on your machine and there was no operating system, it'll go directly here, right? This is called the firmware. This is your BIOS. It's similar to your laptop, your physical laptop. So even if you were to make a machine and let it run, don't touch anything, you'll see the screen.
I
can
get
guarantee
that the virtual machine has something
as a BIOS
just like
too.
a physical machine.
Yeah.
I get
But
that.
there's not really much that you can do. The only thing you can do is the boot from CD DVD. That's all I would use it for, or put a password on it. That's it. Nothing too much on it. There's not much that you can do on this. And then if you need to change the driver order of your machine, right? So if it's a Dell machine, you can change the drive order. So click on drive order.
So for next time, what do we need to do? Because I need to leave this shortly. So I need to do what now?
What drive order? The third option. Enter. Commit to changes. That's it.
Okay.
And then exit.
And what did we change? I guess that was
nothing. It's showing you what the BIOS looks like, right? Because there's a big difference. So for example, and this is why I'm telling you, because if you had a machine and you told me that, I don't know, I didn't install the operating system, right? And then all of a sudden I turned it on and you see this screen, You're going to say, what is this? What do I do? How do I click into this? How do I get into this? How does this, how do I get interactive with the screen? The only way you can get interactive is if you click inside of it, which is one option, right? You press, or you can press Control G. Then you can use your up and down arrow keys, because you will see this in your future. You will see this a lot, especially if you're creating virtual machines.
Okay.
So power off the machine, power off the Windows Server machine.
And I gotta press Control G.
Control G, yeah.
Control G again.
Control Alt to move out.
Control Alt, yeah.
Inside the virtual, yeah. Now, which allows you to move out.
Oh,
So I want you to yeah, and then try to run it. Try to power it on.
Power off.
Power off, yeah. Power off.
Okay.
Okay. And then power it on again. And then I guess we'll end today's class. So now, hopefully, we should move a little bit quicker now. Just remember, Intel VTX must be disabled in order for you to move on, and you might run into this issue. If you create another ESXi and this happens, just remember the error stems from you having it enabled on your physical laptop within your BIOS. I sent you guys instructions on it, okay? This will also be in the notes. I wish I could show you more, but you're stuck on this part. What I would recommend too is if you go to the HOL, you know what, forget it. We'll just do this another day. You can use the VMware HOL hands-on labs to show you the simulation, but I'd rather you do it and configure it. Get you guys hands-on it, right? Get your hands dirty on it. That way you guys have your own environment and can create as many machines as you want, right? So especially when we're dealing with like OpenShift and virtualization and creating these VMs like that we talk about in cloud architecture, right? You can actually build your own machine. I've built load balancers on here. I've also built RAS servers, like remote access servers, and I've built. You can also build radius servers where I'm able to connect VPNs. I can create my own VPN for a client that's in a public environment, like right. So if I'm not connected to the server, I can VPN into my client, into my machine, and utilize my DC, my domain controllers and file servers if I need to. I've actually just finished creating one, which was kind of cool. More than welcome to share that with you guys in the future if you guys want. So this is creating the service. It's actually starting the service, Wayne. So hopefully now, hopefully this is slowly installing it, right? But when we get to that point, if it happens again, then it's your laptop. That'll resolve your issue.
Okay.
All right. Mark, I guess I'm gonna end this video for today. And Mark,
yeah.
stick around. I'm just gonna stop sharing here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Or recording, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording. And you stopped. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I'll leave this running. I'm gonna leave this running. And,
yeah, leave it running. Yeah, leave